is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. A surprise twist in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. The victims' families say Brian Kohberger has agreed to admit to the crimes.
Pleading guilty will spare Kohberger the death penalty. He'll agree to 4 consecutive life sentences and will waive all rights to appeal. Kohberger fatally stabbed the 4 students at an off-campus home in 2022. Benjamin Mogan's daughter, Madison, was one of the victims. He's relieved there will be no trial.
You don't have to torture families that have been already through the most horrific thing they could ever imagine.
But the family of another victim is upset with the plea deal. They posted on Facebook the state of Idaho has failed them. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
We're learning more about the gunman who police say shot and killed 2 fire battalion chiefs in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. CBS's Naomi Ruckham.
They say 20-year-old Wes Rowley set the fire to lure first responders up Canfield Mountain, had contact and a brief discussion with the crews, and then started shooting over several hours, at one point shooting at authorities from within a tree.
They say Rowley, who'd been living out of his car, shot and killed himself. After staying up around the clock for 2 days straight, Senate Republicans are racing to lock down the votes they need to pass President Trump's sweeping tax and domestic policy bill. South Carolina's Lindsey Graham.
Y'all will never do anything to make sure taxes go down. So we're going to make sure they go down forever.
Connecticut Democrat Chris Murphy.
At the foundation of this bill is something very simple: the most massive transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in the history of the country. That's essentially what we're talking about here.
Lawmakers are holding a vote-a-rama on last-minute amendments right now. The president wants the bill on his desk by Friday. It could get smelly soon in the city of brotherly love. Almost 10,000 municipal employees went on strike this morning after contract talks broke down. CBS News Philadelphia's Ross DiMattei.
We're talking about folks like trash collectors, street repair crews, water treatment plant operators, and police dispatchers, just to name a few. All of them joining the picket line overnight, either literally here in person or in spirit, and refusing to go back to work until the city comes back with a better offer.
Grilling burgers for the 4th? The ground beef will cost you more than ever. The American Farm Bureau Federation estimates retail prices have jumped more than $6.60. The group blames drought, high grain prices, and inflation for a historically low cattle supply and surging demand for beef. Dow futures are down 52. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
It is 6:03, and right now we've got sunshine, 69 degrees in downtown St. Louis. The news is sponsored by St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe got down to budget business Monday and stripped out more than $300 million, putting more than $200 million in spending on hold. Among the losers, Lambert Airport. Kehoe withheld $7 million to help Lambert build a new terminal and $4 million for a new police training facility in O'Fallon. Other cuts to the budget include money for Great Rivers Greenway, IT upgrades for St. Louis Circuit Court, the Allenton Bridge in Eureka, Webster Groves Children's Hospital, St. Louis Area Food Bank, United Way, and Kinloch Abandoned Properties demolition.
In all, the governor issued 208 line-item vetoes and restricted 32 other expenditures. Kehoe says the cuts are not a sign of a larger economic problem, but that government spends too much. He also said state revenues are getting squeezed by public schools and the cost of disaster relief from the May 16th tornado.
Boeing union members authorize a strike.
It'd be the first work stoppage at the aerospace facility since McDonnell Douglas in 1996, but it's not likely at this point. Negotiations are ongoing. It was a procedural move for Boeing workers on Sunday to vote by 99% to authorize the contingency of a strike. Aerospace consultant Richard Abalafia says even if there is a stoppage, they usually aren't prolonged, and the company probably would not cut in St. Louis as a result.
It's probably not practical to move work, and, frankly, these things tend to not last very long.
Abalafia says all programs here would be impacted, but the biggest assembly lines are the F-15 fighter, the T-7 trainer, and the final FA-18 Super Hornets. Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
The election to replace Mayor Kara Spencer's former seat as alderwoman will be held today. The 5-way race could serve as a key vote on legislation such as how to spend the Rams settlement money and other issues impacting downtown, like homelessness and businesses moving from cities like Clayton.
5 candidates in the race are Shedrick Kelly, Jamie Cox-Antwi, Jim Dallas, Alicia Hoyt, and Cam McCarty. Kelly has been endorsed by the city's Democratic Central Committee and is backed by Aldermanic President Megan Green's Political Action Committee. Meanwhile, Antwi has received the endorsement of the woman she hopes to replace, Mayor Kara Spencer, and Greater St. Louis, Inc.
St. Louis Public Schools ordered to pay out $4 million to employees suspended or fired over COVID vaccine requirements.
Over a dozen teachers and employees will split the money after a jury ruled in their favor. Attorney Kevin Casper represents the former staffers and says they're happy with the results.
Been a long journey for them, and we're just happy to get some closure.
The punitive damages totaled $13 million and were split equally amongst the 13 staff members who did not settle. The actual damages ranged from $64,000 to $93,000 for each client. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
After operating without a license for weeks, Missouri's Agriculture Department approves licensing St. Louis County Animal Care and Control.
Public Health Director Dr. Kanika Cunningham, who oversees operations at Animal Care and Control, says in a release, quote, "This has truly been a team effort over the past few weeks. Our entire staff and volunteers have devoted long hours, including additional weekend hours, to ensuring the facility meets state standards. But this is not the end of the story. The euthanasia of 19 dogs during a parvovirus outbreak in April and May still have left many unanswered questions the county council has been trying to get answers to, with subpoenas of several current and former staffers at the shelter. One of those former employees, Dr. Doug Pernikoff, the veterinary medical director, who told the council last week he was let go and did not just up and quit. Dr. Cunningham maintains she knew nothing about the euthanasias, but Pernikoff disputes that claim. The council intends to hold another hearing, continuing the probe into why this shelter has been plagued with problems while under control of St. Louis County. Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
Astronomers will be watching for 3 bright stars this month. Paul Temple is director of Central Methodist University's Morrison Observatory in Fayette, Missouri. He tells MissouriNet the brightest stars make up the summer triangle.
And it's Altair, Deneb, and Vega. You remember Vega, the star, Vegas, the car? Anyway, those 3 are pretty noticeable, especially going into July. By mid-July, you'll be able to see them. Almost one of them, at least Vega, will be directly overhead, and the other ones are very bright, so you can see a triangle in the sky.
He says the summer triangle can be seen in the eastern horizon. By the end of July, it will be fairly high in the sky.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for it. It's 6:08, traffic and weather next.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and
joy.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed. From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Feel like everything's clouded by doubt? Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Our psychics are available to talk 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Out here in the middle of these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on earth. That's how it feels when you're struggling with your mental health. But you don't have to feel alone. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts.
It is 6:10 and time for us to get you updated on traffic and weather. Looks like a nice morning so far, and actually the nicest day of this 5-day forecast, so enjoy it. We've got more details on that coming up after we check in with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Yeah, we're doing all right out there on the area roadways. Have a report of a stall on eastbound 64 near McKnight, so the right lane partially blocked there. Traffic looks like it's getting by okay so far. I mentioned that crash at the top of the hour at a Telegraph at Forder. It's southbound Telegraph at Forder. Southbound Telegraph jammed about midway back to 255 northbound. Not impacted by it, thankfully, so far. Northbound 55 nearby. Looks good around McNutt. Looks good through Butler Hill. Looks good north of Bayless. 270 around Ladue. Everything's on the go for you there. Southbound 61 in good shape coming down to 64 and 70 coming out of the Wentzville area. They picked up the overnight road work northbound 255 between 15 and State Street. Never really saw any delays through there, even when they were out there. That's not a real heavily traveled stretch, especially during the overnight hours. And there's still a little bit of heavy traffic on Route 3 right around Monsanto, northbound more so than southbound at this time. Next update at 6:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Sunny skies are going to be returning today, and it's going to be a nice day. Not too bad in the humidity department as we top out at 88 degrees. Mainly clear with a low of 70 tonight, then warming up for tomorrow and Thursday. We'll have sun and patchy clouds with a high near 90 tomorrow and then up to 93 on Thursday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Right now it's 69 in Florissant, 68 in St. Peters, partly cloudy, 69 degrees downtown at the Arch. And the weather is sponsored by Storm Pro Solution Roofing and Restoration. They're here when you need them most, providing top roofing and storm damage assessments. Visit stormprosolution.com, St. Louis's #1 roofing and water mitigation specialist.
It is 6:12 and lawmakers pulling another all-nighter trying to pass the GOP's mega budget bill ahead of President Trump's self-imposed deadline of this Friday. CBS News correspondent Naomi Ruckham has more.
The marathon vote on amendments continued overnight as Senate Republicans raced to pass President Donald Trump's massive spending package.
This is Congress's job, and by God, we ought to do it.
The bill includes an extension of the president's 2017 tax cuts, his campaign promise of no tax on tips, a new tax on wind and solar projects that use materials from China, and increased border and defense spending. But lawmakers in both parties have come out against its steep cuts to Medicaid.
This bill is going to ruin people's lives.
Fiscal conservatives have balked at the latest Congressional Budget Office report that predicts the Senate's bill would add up to $3.3 trillion to the deficit over the next decade. On social media, President Trump pushed to get his one big beautiful bill across the finish line by his July 4th deadline, calling the legislation the greatest and most important of its kind in history.
Small towns in Illinois would be hit hardest by Medicaid cuts that are part of the Republicans' budget bill, claims Dick Durbin.
What's the impact of a hospital closing its door in a downstate community in Illinois? Devastating.
Illinois senior senator who is retiring spoke on the floor, said fewer low-income people with health coverage will be a, quote, disaster for rural hospitals, which he says will start to close.
Hospitals are not only the center for emergency medical care, good doctors, nurses, and such, they are also a major economic force in small-town America. Take away a hospital and then try to attract a new business to your community. Good luck.
A major grocery retail chain is making moves in the Metro East. Meijer, the Michigan-based chain of supercenter stores, is moving forward on plans for 2 new locations. According to the Business Journal, land has been purchased in O'Fallon, Illinois at Pierce and Greenmount Roads. There is still no timeline on when the almost 160,000 square foot store would be built or finished. Meijer has gotten an extension on plans to build at Orchard Town Center in Glen Carbon. Remediation work is being done underground there to make sure that mine subsidence doesn't disturb the store's foundation.
It's 6:14. No WNBA team for St. Louis. The official word came from the league. It's not shocking news by any means, but they've chosen to expand to Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia. One of the investors in the St. Louis bid was Jason Tatum, who joined forces with billionaires Richard Chaffetz and David Hoffman of the Hoffman family of companies. The WNBA commissioner says the 3 cities chosen had market viability, media, city, and state support, and the community commitment to advance women's basketball. At 6:15. We do have the United States men's national team in town. We welcome them and U.S. Soccer as the men will be taking on Guatemala tomorrow at Energizer Park. 6 o'clock start in the Gold Cup semifinal. Hockey, today is day 1 of NHL free agency. And what will the Blues do? We played you a clip yesterday of Doug Armstrong indicating that they need a second-line center. And he also mentioned that everybody does. The Athletic writes, the Blues have an underrated number 1 center in Robert Thomas, a veteran who showed last year he can still fill the number 2 hold in Braden Shen. But if they can find someone to replace Shen in that role, great. But if not, they desperately need a middle 6 center who can provide quality depth. Last year's number 3 center, Oscar Sundqvist, the Athletic points out, has a lot of miles on him and had just 6 goals and 20 points last season. The Blues and NHL free agency. Mitch Marner traded to the Vegas Golden Knights yesterday in a sign and trade deal. And the Golden Knights announced that their defenseman, former Blues captain Alex Pietrangelo, is stepping away from hockey for physical reasons. He's been dealing with some pretty severe hip issues over the past year or so and has been playing through a lot of pain. The Cardinals, it was a tough one for them yesterday. They got ripped yesterday. Final score was 7-0 at the hands of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Eric Fetty got blown up in the 5th inning, gave up 6 runs, 7 total. But that was just part of the story. This is KMOX's Matt Pauley with the fact that the offense struggled again against the lefty.
Even with last night's loss to the Pirates, the Cardinals have still won 10 of their last 14. In their last 3 losses, each shutouts, they've been matched up against a left-handed starter in the Cubs' Matthew Boyd and Shota Imanaga, and last night against Andrew Heaney. Those 3 pitchers have combined to throw 17 2/3 innings without allowing a run. Manager Oliver Marmol acknowledges the team needs to do better against lefties.
We have to be able to combat it differently. We've done a nice job against righties. Lefties have gotten us. It's no secret. We look forward to the next one.
It should be noted in Sunday's 7-0 win in Cleveland, they did score 3 runs against Guardians left-handed starter Logan Allen, handing him the loss. Matt Pauley, KMOX Sports.
That was on one swing of the bat from Nolan Gorman in the 1st inning. Otherwise, Allen did pretty well against him. Heaney was good yesterday. 6 2/3, no runs on 3 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, carried a no-hitter into the 6th inning. Meanwhile, Fetty gives up 7 runs on 10 hits in his 5 innings, doesn't strike out anyone, and walked 3. A lot of hard hit balls against Eric Fetty. We'll talk to Ollie Marmol about that and more on the Gas House Gang today. It airs at 12:05. Chris Ranji, Bernie Miklas, they join me to talk to the Cardinals manager on YouTube, X, Facebook, and right here on the home of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Cardinal Hall of Famer Jason Isringhausen and Eddie Scholler from the world-famous Fast Eddie's Bon Air.
Hey, buddy, have you came over and looked at the new Eddie at Fast Eddie's? I finally got a new item. You know, it's been decades.
Decade? More like 40 years to figure out how to put a piece of shrimp on there with your steak.
I've known you for 40 years. You could have said something. Well, who'd have thought the Elwood could even get better? But we did it. We went and we made the Eddie. It's a foot-long serving turn.
Not that I needed another reason to bring the whole gang down there. I'm still going to order those Big Elwoods, the succulent peel and eat shrimp, the hot chick on a stick, and that famous Fast Eddie burger. And I'm always going to get one of those ice-cold frosty ones and listen to that live music on that patio every afternoon and evening.
Well, I just love adding another great item for everybody to come over and enjoy. When you come on over the beautiful Clark Bridge and look at the picturesque Mississippi River.
Picturesque. That's very eloquent.
Thank you very much.
Well, like Mr. Shannon says, if you're 21 and in the mood, come on over to picturesque Alton, Illinois, and see the very eloquent Eddie at Fast Eddie's Bon Air.
A lot of people get a lot of their information now from social media, which can be a good thing and sometimes not so good. You just have to be really careful. And financial information is one of those things. There's now people called finfluencers, financial influencers. And who knows if they're giving you the right information. It's good to trust an expert, especially when it comes to investing in your future and your retirement account. Here's Jeff Sachs of Sachs Financial.
There is a ton of bad information out on the internet, and there's misinformation, and there's advice out there that people shouldn't necessarily listen to, but because it gets thousands of views and millions of likes, people think that that's what they need to do.
If you want the straight scoop from a company that is here in St. Louis and you can find them and ask them questions in person, Sachs Financial, they are great for simplifying your retirement and putting a solid plan in place for you so that you don't have to sweat all the ups and downs of the market every day. So they'll figure out what you need today and what you want in retirement. Sachs Financial, SACHS. Contact them today at retiresafestl.com.
Now the news at 1 the fun. It's the Dave Glover Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Hey, we can have fun around here, too. This is Total Information AM. Roger Brand is in the overhead door company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, it's pretty fun out there right now, Tom, for the most part. Most folks are having a pretty easy drive of it, getting going. This morning, this traffic reports the service of Terrace Senior Living of Eureka. I did just look at a stalled tractor trailer. It looks like he can get around it. He's got cones out behind himself there. It's northbound 55 on the exit ramp to Potomac. The left side of the ramp is blocked, but it looks like you can sneak by. I don't know about a tractor trailer, but it looks like a car can get by on the right-hand side of that ramp. Speaking of 55, there's a little more volume now in a couple of spots north of the Union Road overpass up through Virginia. It's a little slower through there. It doesn't look as bad on southbound Telegraph at Ford. We had an injury crash. There was a jam earlier. Now there's just a bit of a slowdown. So it looks like they're getting that wrapped up for you. North 270, 55 up through Gravois, 270 around Ladue, both directions still look great. Eastbound 70 and 64 from out west, fine downtown. Will still clear westbound across the Poplar and Musial Veterans Bridges. Next update is 6:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Check out the Terrace in Eureka for affordable senior living with 24-hour nursing supervision, delicious meals, medication management, and activities. The Terrace is affordable and will work with your Medicaid plan. Go to rspseniorliving.com and look for the Terrace Private Assisted Living.
Today is going to be sunny and nice and lower humidity, a high of 88. Enjoy it because, well, it gets a little warmer tomorrow, and as we head into the weekend, it gets hot. Near 90 tomorrow with sun and patchy clouds. Thursday, 93, 96 on Friday, the 4th of July, and 97 on Saturday. Right now, it's 69 degrees in downtown St. Louis.
The news continues at 6:22. Senators spent Monday voting on dozens of amendments to President Trump's big, beautiful bill and what is called a vote-a-rama ahead of a final vote on its passage.
Voting began at 9 a.m. Eastern time yesterday and continued throughout the night. Senators and staff ordering pizza during the marathon voting session. Democratic-led amendments have no chance of passing, but provide an opportunity for them to air their grievances against the bill. Meanwhile, there are amendments Republicans want added as well. Negotiations on what will be in the final package continued to evolve throughout the day and night. Democratic Senator Mark Kelly says he and his colleagues are trying to show the American people how damaging and unfair the bill is.
We're literally going to take money from people that don't have it, that's used to pay a doctor or a hospital when they're sick. And that money is going to be transferred to the richest people in our country. And that's wrong.
One change is a pared back measure that would strip Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood from 10 years to just 1 year after the Senate parliamentarian said the original language violated budget procedural rules. Still, Republican senators like Roger Marshall remain confident.
I think we cannot let this moment pass to have the largest tax savings in American history. The average American family back home is going to save $1,000 a month when this bill passes. We're going to secure the border. Look, this is President Trump's legacy.
Republican Senator Eric Schmidt says the American people are with them, not the Democrats.
They want tax relief. They want border security. They want to make sure that we're deporting illegal immigrants. They want our military to be strong, and that's what this bill does.
The White House and the president continue to stay on the phones talking with Republican senators who have concerns over Medicaid cuts and the long-term effect the bill could have on the deficit. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Republicans need to do the right thing.
Republicans need to stay tough and unified during the home stretch
And we are counting on them to get the job done.
Even after the vote-a-rama, final passage of the big, beautiful bill is uncertain. With Rand Paul and Tom Tillis, 2 no votes, the GOP can afford only one more defection for the bill to pass. The goal is to get the bill to President Trump's desk by the 4th of July, which would also require House Speaker Mike Johnson to work with moderate Republicans to get their support and finalize the bill. John Stolness, Washington.
The Trump administration seeking to take away more money from Harvard University.
The Trump administration continues its crackdown on anti-Semitism on American college campuses. It's taken grant money away from Harvard already because of ways the university has handled pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campus. President Trump has been outspoken about the number of foreigners who attend Harvard.
Because we have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do.
This week, the Trump administration is threatening all of Harvard's federal funding after it said it found the university to be in violent violation of the Civil Rights Act. A letter was reportedly sent to Harvard's president, Alan Garber, that said a federal investigation found the school is in violation of Title VI, which prohibits discrimination based on color or national origin and race. The university issued a statement saying it disagrees with the government's findings, and administrators believe the school has made significant strides to combat bigotry and bias. I'm Clayton Neville.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signs new bills that aim to make it easier and cheaper to apply to college. WBBM's Carolina Garibay has more.
Governor Pritzker signed 4 bills into law, including one that streamlines the admissions process through a new program.
The Public University Direct Admission Program Act will now give pre-qualified students in Illinois admission to our public universities and community colleges without all the hassles of applications and fees.
The other laws expand dual credit opportunities, require a FAFSA point of contact person in schools, and require FAFSA assistance options during school hours. He says the laws ensure that all students have access to the education they deserve, no matter their background.
Higher education should be about growth and the opportunity to build a better life. It should not be about piling on debt and mountains of paperwork. We're making it cheaper and easier to go to college.
It is 6:27, and the time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-day kitchen and bath.
Maureen talks about her experience using 3-day kitchen and bath.
I had for years been dreaming how I wanted my kitchen down to every detail. When 3-day kitchen and bath came, they were thrilled to death that I knew exactly what I wanted. They came back with a drawing and it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted. They came in, they did their thing, and it turned out as perfect as I imagined it. The quality of it is beautiful. It's amazing. It is beautiful. They were efficient. They were trustworthy. The recommendations were unquestionable. And they were going to do exactly what I wanted. I had a lovely experience.
Start your remodel today by visiting 3daykitchen.com.
At 3-day kitchen and bath.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-536-9607. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-536-9607 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-536-9607 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-536-9607.
Straight Realty has always been an industry leader when it comes to commissions, so it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Summer is here. Time to enjoy baseball, barbecues, and the shade of your trees. When it comes to tree care, call the certified arborist at Gamma Tree Experts. Hi, I'm Tim Gamma. Protect your valuable trees from storm damage or devastating insects such as the emerald ash borer. Knowledge and quality are hallmarks of our reputation. For pruning, spraying, fertilization, or removals, call Gamma Tree Experts today at 314-725-6159 or visit us at gammatree.com. Your trees deserve the best care.
It is 6:30, and right now in downtown St. Louis, we've got sunshine, 69 degrees. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. Let's check in with Roger Brand and the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, traveling in on northbound Highway 55, south side seeing a little more volume. It looks good down south around McNutt, but we do have slow traffic on northbound 55 from Bayless all the way up through Virginia. That exit ramp to Potomac, again, it looks like you can get by okay. The right side of the ramp is open. The left side's blocked by a stalled tractor trailer. It's not backing up on the ramp, so that means it's not backing up on the highway. So once you get past Virginia, you're in good shape. North 270 from 55 through Gravelin, up around Manchester through Ladue. Everything looks fine. More volume now eastbound 30. Between West Watson and Mauer up the hill to 270. It's getting a little busy. Seeing some volume now as well. Southbound 61 approaching Wentzville Parkway down to 64. But once you get to 64 or 70, take your pick. They're both on the run. Still seeing a little bit of a backup. Southbound Telegraph at Forder. That's where we had an earlier injury crash. There's obviously still some restrictions. It's a little slow northbound through there. Downtown, we still look good westbound across the Poplar and Musical Veterans Bridges. Next update at 6:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Today's the nice day of this 5-day forecast because less humidity. It'll be sunny and a high of 88. Then tomorrow and Thursday, sun and patchy clouds. 90 tomorrow, 93 on Thursday, 96 on 4th of July, Friday. It's 69 degrees out there right now.
At least 4 were arrested in this past weekend's fight-filled Pride celebration in the Grove.
Someone's going to have to take responsibility for it. The police can't.
St. Louis City Police spokesman Mitch McCoy says the lack of permitting for this event limits how law enforcement can take preventative action.
We're not wanting people as they come on Manchester Avenue. What gives a police officer the right to stop you and say, okay, you're being wanted if you want to come in?
McCoy says for the sake of safety, someone needs to step up next year and have this event permitted. Outside St. Louis City Police Headquarters, Sean Malone, KMOX News.
But as KMOX's Michael Calhoun reports, the actual Pride Fest events had no problems.
Organizers of the official Pride here in downtown are drawing a distinction between the festival and what happened in the Grove. They've released a statement that says that there were 0 arrests. It was one of the safest events in Pride's 45-year history. Taking a look now as they're taking down the fencing and the other infrastructure. And Pride organizers say they did invest in public safety, including this fencing, as well as ticket processing and 24/7 on-site security for the festival grounds.
Meanwhile, the Grove Business District says it wasn't Pride partiers, but unrelated agitators who came in from elsewhere in the city and caused the fracas over the weekend. The Grove thanking officers for risking their safety in the face of danger.
Urban Chestnut goes from bankruptcy to acquisition. The St. Louis craft brewer emerged from Chapter 11 earlier this year, and yesterday it acquired O'Fallon Brewery's brands. That brewer shut down last year after filing for bankruptcy in 2023. If you miss O'Fallon's pumpkin beer, it'll be back on the shelf this fall. Urban Chestnut Chairman Brian Travers tells the Business Journal that O'Fallon's pumpkin beer was one of the first seasonal beers available in the region. He says they're also expanding their brewing, production, and distribution to be a leader in the future of American breweries, as well as upgrading their 2 brew pubs in Midtown and the Grove.
The news sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. We've got the latest from Bloomberg Your Money Report coming up next.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ziprecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free.
635, your money report, sponsored by Eamon Gantner and Capriano, elder law attorneys.
Good morning. There's a big shakeup in the management ranks at Boeing. Chief Financial Officer Brian West is stepping down. West is leaving his post in mid-August and will be succeeded by former Lockheed Martin executive Jay Malavi. West will remain an advisor to Chief Executive Officer Kelly Ortberg. You can add Hershey to the list of companies removing synthetic dyes from its snack foods. The Pennsylvania-based maker of Hershey's chocolates, Jolly Ranchers candy, and Skinny Pop popcorn is making the change by the end of 2027. The company says removing the colors is a natural step in its program to ensure consumers will have options to fit their lifestyle. And Starbucks is beefing up its hiring process as it searches for the best baristas. Aspiring servers will now have to go through an additional layer of interviews to land a job. The moves are part of a new hiring push by Chief Executive Officer Brian Niccol as the company tries to revive sales. With your Bloomberg Money Report, I'm Kimberly Adams on the Voice of St. Louis, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
I'm Tom Ackerman with this month's Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight. This is National Cancer Survivor Awareness Month, and we are joined by Dr. Lindsay Peterson, WashU medical oncologist with Siteman Cancer Center. Dr. Peterson, thank you very much for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Siteman Survivorship Program offers several different things. One thing we like to do is have a clinic specific for our cancer survivors. And this clinic can focus on the unique needs of cancer patients at different parts of their journey. And in addition to that, we also have resources for cancer survivors. A lot of these can be found on our website, but they vary from things such as patient education materials to support groups to one of my favorites, which are different education seminars on ways that cancer survivors can work to really live their best life.
Thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, go to siteman.wustl.edu.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ziprecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort, offering small ship experiences with a shore excursion included in every port and programs designed for cultural enrichment. Discover more at Viking.com. That's Viking.com.
Today, the Cards, the Pirates, Aaron Total Access 445, Cardinals Radio, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
It is going on 6:39. When the old courthouse was being renovated, they had to move the Arch's library, archives, and museum collections out. Jennifer Clark, who's the museum curator at Gateway Arch National Park, says then they found out the whole collection is really too heavy for the space, so they're moving to the old post office.
We have photographs of many of the buildings that were on the Arch grounds before the Arch was there. We have documents about the development of the park, the development of exhibits, and then we have museum collections, including artifacts that focus on St. Louis history and the history of westward expansion.
The new research center should be open by appointment this fall. David Grove with the Jefferson National Parks Association says they want to fill a wall in the archives reading room with a mural.
The blank canvas is about 22 feet long, about 6 feet tall, which really we think is ample space for inspiration.
There's a public call for entries for their mural design competition that comes with a $5,000 prize plus expenses. Entries are due by July 25th. They'll unveil the finished mural in October.
It's 6:40. Roger Brand is in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Tom, I've been keeping an eye on the ramp northbound 55 to Potomac. This traffic reports the service of Overhead Door Company of St. Louis because we have a stalled tractor trailer on the ramp. I said originally you could get by because I saw a cone set up in the left lane, but since I last talked to you folks, I've been seeing MoDOT workers walking around on the ramp, and maybe the driver of the semi. So that leads me to believe the ramp is completely closed because I don't think he'd be walking around on the ramp if there was a car coming at him at a highway speed. So it looks like you cannot get off of that ramp for the time being. Northbound 55 at Potomac. Southbound Telegraph at Ford, there's still a little bit of a delay. We had an earlier injury crash there. Northbound 55, right lanes are busy. Butler Hill up to 270, and all lanes bogged down from Bayless all the way to about Virginia. Northbound 270, it doesn't look bad until you get around Doherty Ferry, approaching Doherty Ferry to Manchester, a slowdown building there. Eastbound Highway 30 approaching Mauer up to 270. That's a little crowded as well. If you're coming in out Wentzville way, it looked good right now. Southbound 61 onto 64 or 70. They're both cruising along across the Missouri River bridges downtown. The Poplar Mutual Veterans Bridges, everything's light and on the go for you there so far as well. Next update at 6:50 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200. It's cash for clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
It is 6:41 and time for us to check the forecast. Looks like a beautiful morning out there right now. Some breeze and some bright sunshine. Our AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare has more.
And we did have a lot of clouds around first thing this morning, but they have cleared out. And as you said, just bright blue skies out there. We're going to have a sunny rest of our day, not too humid. We top out at 88 degrees. So yeah, not really a bad day at all. Mainly clear tonight, low about 70, then sun and some clouds, and we'll slowly warm up through tomorrow and Thursday. We're back up to 90 for tomorrow, 93 on Thursday. Again, that humidity level, though, still not too bad for this time of year. Independence Day still looks good. Still hot, though. We'll have a high of 96 degrees, sun and some clouds on the way. It does stay dry, and the humidity not too bad, but that 96 means you're going to want to be careful if you are out and about with your celebrations. And then up to 97, more humidity and partly sunny on Saturday. Right now, 69 in St. Peter's. It's 70 in Florissant and 73 downtown at the Arch. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Sports coming up in 2 minutes at 6:43. Have you heard of mouth taping?
Mouth taping is basically whenever you place a small piece of breathable-ish tape over your lips at night. And this is all meant to encourage breathing through your nose instead of your mouth.
That's sleep expert Dr. Leah Kaler, who got her PhD at SLU, who says if done wrong, mouth taping can affect your breathing and sleep quality.
Whenever oxygen levels drop during sleep, whether that's during an apnea or, you maybe are experiencing obstructive sleep apnea and you've got mouth tape on, your brain and your body kind of go into this panic mode. They just kind of pull the fire alarm because essentially what's happening is you do not have enough oxygen.
Your brain will wake you up, maybe not even all the way. And that's an apnea. And when apnea happens time after time,
it's leading to strain on the heart. It can lead to uncontrolled high blood pressure. Oftentimes people wake up with morning headaches, irritability. Perhaps you're feeling like your memory is very poor or like you're just feeling very foggy. So all these things can be affected by oxygen levels dropping at night.
Dr. Kaler says untreated sleep apnea can increase your risk for heart disease, stroke, and sudden cardiac death.
If you have obstructive sleep apnea, the treatment for that is not mouth taping. It's going to be something like a CPAP machine or a BiPAP machine, or there's some other potential treatments out there for you.
Fred Bottomer, KMOX News.
Megan Lynch will go in depth on this at 8:24 this morning.
Are fireflies flickering out? May Berenbaum, a professor of entomology at the University of Illinois, says it's not easy to determine exactly why there is a decline in the number of lightning bugs in our area.
I think it's always difficult to say whether insects are doing something unusual or not, because it's hard to figure out what the usual is.
But U of I research does indicate fewer lightning bugs. Part of that is the use of pesticides and the loss of habitat. Part of it is that everywhere is brighter. With light pollution, there are fewer dark places for their glow to attract a mate.
I was reading you part of Bill McClellan's column in the Post-Dispatch that back in the day, he said kids would collect them and then sell them to Sigma Aldrich, which used the chemical that was lighting up inside the fireflies.
I don't like hurting fireflies.
I don't either.
They're one of those bugs that no one's afraid of.
I call them lightning bugs, right?
I don't know. I
You
call
go
them
fireflies?
interchangeably. I call them both.
Back and forth, yeah.
There
They
seems
are.
to be a lot of them in my yard this year, so
I
no
have a decent amount.
shortage
Yeah.
in South City.
I always say the first time I see a lightning bug, summer has started.
Yep.
It's always a great sign of summer. 6:45. Another great sign of summer is baseball, but the Cardinals have struggled against left-handed pitching, and Eric Fetty has had some issues on the Cardinals side of things. Let's turn things over to our broadcasters for the latest.
With Ricky Orton, I'm John Rooney. Last night in Pittsburgh, it was all Pirates, pure and simple, 7-0 Pittsburgh.
Bad night for the Cardinals as they've run into a hot Pittsburgh Pirate team. They had swept the Mets in 3 straight, and it was Andrew Heaney on the mound, a lefty who hadn't been good his last couple of starts, but he held the Cardinals down, held them hitless until the 6th inning, and the Cardinals did not get a good start from Eric Fetty.
The Cardinals didn't get a runner to second base. They didn't have an at-bat with a runner in scoring position, and the Pirates, in their last 8 games, have gone 6-2, averaging just under 7 runs a game.
Pirates are tough right now. One good silver lining was the work of the Cardinals bullpen. John King, Matt Swanson pitched well again.
Paul Skeens has yet to beat the Cardinals. He goes up against Andre Palante tonight.
You're not going to get but so many runs off of him. That means Palante is going to have to be good as well.
So airtime tonight is at 4:45. Ricky has the lineups at 5:30. I'll bring you the first pitch around 5:40 as the Cardinals try to even the series in Pittsburgh.
Cardinals are 3 games out in the National League Central, trailing the Cubs. Milwaukee sits in second place, 2 games back.
Captain Alex Pietrangelo, St. Louis has been waiting a long time for this. Come get the Stanley Cup.
June of 2019, the greatest moment in Blues history and the first to touch the Stanley Cup was Captain Alex Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo posted a statement last night. The Vegas Golden Knights defenseman said the past few years have been very challenging on my physical well-being, and I am in a difficult position with my overall playing health. After exploring options with doctors as well as my family, it's been advised to remove the intensity of hockey to see if my body can improve so that I can return to a normal quality of life. This decision has been very difficult to come to terms with, says Pietrangelo, after the last 17 years of competition and the camaraderie with my teammates and coaches. The likelihood is low that my body will recover to the standard required to play, but I know this is the right decision for me and my family. Vegas GM Kelly McCrimmon gave a little more detail. He said, Alex has our organization's full support in prioritizing his long-term health and quality of life. Alex is dealing with hips that would require bilateral femur reconstruction with no guarantee of success. The NHL free agency begins today. The Blues are looking for a second-line center, but as GM Doug Armstrong said the other day, so is everybody. We'll see if they can pull something together. Mitch Marner went to Vegas in a sign-and-trade deal yesterday, and Florida re-signed some of their big-name players, including Brad Marchand. I'm Tom Ackerman. Who's Hot, Who's Not, brought to you by St. Louis Composting, growing gardens, making memories. We mentioned that the Cardinals pitching yesterday and facing left-handed pitching is not, so they're going to have to clear that up. I'll tell you that St. Louis Composting certainly will clear things up for you. Your yard's going to look great after they're done with it. They provide mulch, soil, compost. They're the best in St. Louis, and they do it in such a great way. They drop it off at your home. It is a delivery service, or you can pick it up at one of 9 locations in the St. Louis area. Order delivery of compost, soil, and mulch from St. Louis Composting. 9 locations in the St. Louis metro area. We're talking about compost, mulch, soil, custom soils, tree, lawn, and landscape waste drop-off as well. They have a great website, stlcompost.com, where they show you exactly what they do, how they create it, how they sell it, how many different kinds you can buy as well. St. Louis Composting, stlcompost.com.
Get this, 42% of baby boomers don't even know how much money they have in their nest egg. If you're not sure where you stand in terms of getting ready for retirement, you should be listening to the All Financial Hour with Steve All.
Let's sit down and talk about your questions, because I think that's the most important thing that it is out there. It's what questions do you have?
Saturday mornings at 10 or Sunday evenings at 6, right here on KMOX.
2 legendary bands, 1 epic night, Collective Soul, and live by bringing the rock to St. Louis. Catch their summer unity tour at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater July 17th with special guest Grayland James Rue. Don't miss your chance to hear such hits as Shine, December, I Alone, and All Over You. Collective Soul and live. Tickets can be found at Ticketmaster.com. For more info, KMOX.com/events. Total Information AM. The news continues on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is 6:50 and time for us to get you updated on your ride in. Hope it's peaceful and pleasant. The weather is this morning, at least. Let's check in right now with Roger Brand. He's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Yeah, it's pretty easy going on the highways. A little busier than yesterday, but still not bad. This traffic report to service the Siding Express. We do have a stall, Debbie, westbound 64 just west of the Science Center. It's just barely in the left lane, mostly on the left shoulder. Just pay attention as you come through there. Right now, it's not really causing a problem. If you're on southbound 170, Brentwood to 64 is a little slow. Northbound 270, some heavier traffic north of Gravois. 44 up to Manchester is just slow at several points through there, and past 64 into the Ladue work zone, a little busy now. Northbound 55, a backup Bayless up to River to Pear. Still seeing some heavy traffic both ways, but not a jam. Telegraph at Forder, we had an earlier southbound crash there. They cleared that stall, the Potomac exit, northbound 55 to Potomac. That exit's been reopened. And downtown, we're just a little slow. Westbound 64 crossing the Poplar. Transform your home with the beauty and durability of James Hardie Siding. At Siding Express, we specialize in James Hardie Siding installation. Visit sidingexpress.com today to schedule a free consultation. That's sidingexpress.com. Next update at 6:58 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Roger, Heather Zaire says we're going to have a nice day today. Sunny and nice, not too humid either. The high of 88 degrees today, 88 for the high. Clear low, 70 tonight. Tomorrow and Thursday, we start to warm back up before Independence Day. Sunny and patchy clouds tomorrow and Thursday. High tomorrow 90, Thursday's high 93. And yes, for July 4th, it is going to be hot. A high of 96 degrees that day. Saturday stays hot, even hotter. High of 97, says Heather. Currently, it's sunny, 69 degrees downtown at the Arch.
The news continues at 6:52. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe has signed his first state budget, a $50.8 billion plan for the 2026 fiscal year, but not without major cuts. Kehoe vetoed or withheld more than $500 million in spending, citing what he calls unsustainable additions by lawmakers. The move affects projects across the state, including funding for bridges, libraries, and storm recovery. St. Louis cuts include money for the Allenton Bridge and Eureka River to Pear flood studies, the City Justice Center. Kehoe also plans to sign a bill eliminating taxes on capital gains, which means reducing state revenues by another $400 million a year.
Could there be a strike at Boeing's St. Louis area plants? Negotiations continue after 99% of machinists union members voted to authorize a strike if talks go south. KMOX asked aerospace consultant Richard Abalafia who'd be affected among the local workforce.
Design and planning kind of stuff that happens in St. Louis, or is this really a put it together kind of town?
It's very much both. You know, for a long time it was sort of fading into just putting it together, building things. But the victory of the NGAD contract, Next Generation Air Dominance Penetrating Counter-Air Fighter, otherwise known as the F-47, puts an awful lot of design work there too. And there's also design work, of course, on T-7, the trainer, MQ-25, and other programs. So basically, design work closely follows new program wins, and Boeing's been pretty successful at those recently.
The company says it wants to recognize the contributions of machinists' employees. The union says workers deserve respect, dignity, and a strong agreement.
An international search circled right back home. Blake Hamilton, serving as interim CEO of the International Institute of St. Louis, has been given the permanent gig. Hamilton was the Institute's senior vice president for talent development and advocacy before becoming interim. In December, he replaces Ario Benson, who left abruptly with no reason given. Hamilton has his work cut out for him. The organization that helps settle refugees and immigrants in our region is once again facing the Trump administration's squeeze on new refugees and immigrants coming into the country. Federal funding challenges led to the furlough of 60% of their staff in February and almost canceled the popular Festival of Nations. The International Institute says it made 340 job placements for refugees arriving last year with 170 area businesses.
You click on a link to a news story and hit a paywall. How many of us decide it's worth subscribing to get that content?
This is Megan Lynch. Pew Research Center wanted to know the answer to that question.
The vast majority of Americans do not pay for news. In our survey, 83% of adults said that they have not paid for news in the past year.
Associate Director of Research Michael Lipka says the number one reason people say they won't pay for news content is that they can get it elsewhere for free.
I heard it's somebody's birthday.
Birthday excitement. It's your birthday.
We have a lot of celebrity birthdays today, including a couple of singers you might know. Birthday shout out is sponsored by Renner Garage Door, RENNER, forward and back, family owned and top rated, RennerDoorSTL.com. If you would like a birthday or anniversary announced during the birthday segment, you can send them to totalam@KMOX.com. That's totalam@KMOX.com. Happy birthday wishes going out to Ellen Cohn. That's from Jeannie.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
Dan Aykroyd is celebrating a birthday today, 73. That, of course, from
the Blues Brothers.
Debbie Harry, lead singer from Blondie, 80 today.
Wow, and still rocking, still touring.
Still touring? Really?
Yeah, I think she was here in St. Louis last year, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that. How about that? How about this?
Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
Debbie will be singing this the rest of the day. I played this just for you. Missy Elliott is 54 today. It is 6:57.
This is the best birthday ever.
McKelvey Homes, they're 127 years old. They've been around since 1898, McKelvey Homes. McKelvey Homes, they have always believed that building homes means more than constructing walls and roofs. It means building stronger communities, and that's why they're proud to give back where it matters most. This past quarter, it ended yesterday, June 30th. They donated $1,898 every time they sold a home to the Circle of Concern Food Pantry. That is a nonprofit organization that provides critical support to low-income families in West County and parts of Jefferson County. Why 1898? Well, it's the year they were founded. And it's more than a number. It's a symbol of their roots and their community spirit at McKelvey Homes. I can't wait for Jim Brennan to tell us how much they are going to give to Circle of Concern after selling all of those homes that quarter. Each one, they donate $1,898. McKelvey Homes, McKelveyHomes.com.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So the kids' back-to-school lists were extra long.
Extra long sounds extra expensive.
Staples had everything at amazing prices.
Suspiciously amazing if you ask me.
Some items were just 25 cents. Plus, as an Easy Rewards member, I got 30% back in points on my kids' school supplies.
Jumpin' Jellyfish. Your back-to-school budget saved by Staples Easy Button. Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app. In 719. Exclusions apply. Single use per week up to $60 in points. See app for details.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Well, we've just got a few slowdowns out there as you make your way north on 55. The right lane's a little busy around Mattis, and then all lanes are bogged down from Bayless up to River to Pear. Northbound 270, Big Bend up to 64. There's a little slow stuff. Eastbound 30, busy at Mauer Industrial. Eastbound 64 between Prospect and Lake St. Louis Boulevard's a little slow. Next update at 7:10 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Winner of 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards, including Overall Excellence. KMOX AM St. Louis, KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is the CBS News World News Roundup, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. A surprise development in the case of the 4 University of Idaho students murdered 3 years ago. The accused killer, Brian Kohberger, has agreed to plead guilty. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti.
We spoke to Ben Mogan, the father of victim Madison Mogan, who was relieved to receive the letter.
If you get a quick death sentence, and you don't have to spend decades thinking about how terrible you made the world.
Former federal prosecutor Lori Levinson.
He has agreed basically to plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. It's a bit surprising, only because he has been fighting these charges tooth and nail during the pretrial phase.
Investigators are still looking for a motive in the ambush deaths of 2 fire battalion chiefs in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. What they do know about 20-year-old Wes Rowley, Sheriff Robert Norris.
There is information that we've received that he at one time wanted to be a firefighter.
Officials say Rowley set a brush fire to lure the victims to Canfield Mountain. They also say he shot himself to death. Lawmakers in the Senate have been up for 2 days straight now, debating and voting on amendments to President Trump's massive spending bill. The contents have triggered a dramatic escalation in his feud with Elon Musk. Correspondent Caitlin Huey Burns is on Capitol Hill.
Musk fired off a series of tweets criticizing the bill and pledged to fund primary challenges against Republicans who support it. Trump shot back in a post of his own, suggesting the government efficiency department Musk once headed should take a look at the subsidies Musk's companies receive and the country would save a fortune.
A new report warns the president's cuts to humanitarian aid could cause more than 14 million deaths by the year 2030.
The research in the Lancet Medical Journal says a third of those deaths will be children under 5. Trump and Elon Musk's Doge canceled 83% of USAID programs, including all funding to Mana Nutrition, a Georgia nonprofit that makes meals for malnourished children overseas. Mark Moore co-founded Mana.
Without them, global food aid will grind to a halt.
The Lancet report estimates USAID funding prevented more than 90 million deaths in developing countries between 2001 and 2021. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
In France, where the cigarette holds iconic status, a new ban on smoking goes into effect today at public parks, beaches, and outside schools. These parents in Paris approve.
It's good for the child.
It's for the health of the kids, so I think it's good.
The goal to deter the younger generation from inheriting the nation's nicotine habit. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is?
Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed. From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
It is 7:04. We've got bright sunshine and 71 degrees in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. In the news this morning, Governor Mike Kehoe got down to budget business Monday and stripped out more than $300 million and put more than $200 million in spending on hold. Among the losers, Lambert Airport. Kehoe withheld $7 million to help Lambert build a new terminal, $4 million for a new police training facility in O'Fallon. Other cuts to the budget include money for Great Rivers Greenway, IT upgrades for St. Louis Circuit Court, the Allenton Bridge in Eureka, Webster Groves Children's Hospital, St. Louis Area Food Bank, United Way, and Kinlock Abandoned Properties demolition.
In all, the governor issued 208 line-item vetoes and restricted 32 other expenditure items. Kehoe says the cuts are not a sign of a larger economic problem, but that government spends too much. He also said state revenues are getting squeezed by public schools and the cost of disaster relief from the May 16th tornado.
The election to replace Mayor Kara Spencer's former seat as downtown's alderwoman will be held today. The five-way race could serve as a key vote on legislation such as how to spend the Rams settlement money and other issues impacting downtown, such as the issue of homelessness and businesses moving for cities such as Clayton.
A judgment against St. Louis public schools forces them to pay out millions.
In 2022, over a dozen teachers and staff members sued St. Louis public schools after they were suspended or fired for not complying with the district's COVID vaccine mandates. Now, after a jury sided with the employees, the district is ordered to pay out $4 million to the 13 who did not settle. Their attorney, Kevin Casper, called this a win for the public.
Allow a government organization, whether it's a school district or city employer or other government entity, as long if you allow them to whittle away at the constitutional rights that people have, eventually we're not going to have any left.
Casper says his clients are happy with the decision and likely won't appeal. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
KMOX reached out to St. Louis Public Schools to ask if they do plan to appeal. We are awaiting a response.
A dangerous, unpermitted event drew a wild crowd in the Grove and it continued through the weekend.
Rich McCoy describes some of the chaos their officers dealt with in the early Sunday morning hours.
That 19-year-old climbed on the back of our officer while we were trying to address a female, a 19-year-old, who was shooting fireworks into the crowd.
McCoy says the 19-year-old that jumped on the back of the officer was armed with a firearm in his waistband, a rifle with an extended drum magazine. Meanwhile, the woman shooting fireworks did strike an officer with her firework. McCoy says the only reason he didn't suffer more serious injuries is because he was wearing glasses. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
Two women also shot each other. Both have been taken to an area hospital.
I'm Michael Calhoun with reaction from the Grove Business District, which puts out a statement to say it wasn't pride partiers, but unrelated agitators who came from elsewhere in the city who caused the issues over the weekend on Manchester. The statement says that while inside our LGBTQ plus bars, members of the community in St. Louis had gathered to celebrate the incredibly important month, while agitators and disruptors were outside crowding the streets, engaging in dangerous fights. They say that gathering in the street was not an organized festival or sanctioned event. The influx of crowds were coming from other celebrations in the city. And the statement ends by thanking St. Louis police officers who faced danger to keep the community secure.
Organizers of the official Pride Fest downtown note that there were no safety issues and 0 arrests.
Missouri's Agriculture Department approves licensing for St. Louis County Animal Care and Control. They've operated without a license for weeks after failing 3 inspections.
Public Health Director Dr. Kenny Cunningham says in a release that she's excited ACC received a license, but acknowledges there are still problems with overcrowding. Right now, there are 250 animals at the shelter. The St. Louis County Council has not concluded their investigation into the parvovirus outbreak. They have subpoenaed current and former shelter workers, including the former veterinary medical director, Dr. Doug Pernikoff, who we learned in last week's hearing did not quit, but was let go by the Public Health Department. 19 dogs were euthanized, something Pernikoff says was necessary to stop the spread of the parvovirus in the facility. Dr. Cunningham says she was never told of the euthanasias, but Pernikoff disputes that because Cunningham's deputy director, Dr. Landris Burris, was well aware of the deaths. The council plans to hold another hearing where they are expected to call more people to testify about the problems in ACC while under the control of St. Louis County. Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
It is 7:09. We're going to get you caught up with traffic and weather in a minute.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts.
Time for traffic. Roger Brand, Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Tom, we still have that stall out there I mentioned earlier, westbound 64 just west of the Science Center overpass. It was just up against the left-hand lane, a little bit into the left lane, but MoDOT just showed up. They're waiting for the tow truck. They do have the left lane completely shut down now. Again, that's westbound 64 just west of the Science Center overpass, so pay attention as you come through Boyle, but right now, not causing any more than just a brief slowdown past it, so it's really not a big deal at this point in time. Northbound 270, there's some slow traffic right north of 44 up through Marshall Road, and approaching Manchester up to 64 is kind of slow. Eastbound 64 looks good coming off 61 out in Wentzville all the way in through 270 past the Interbelt both directions. 64 is still okay. Eastbound 70 looks great from Wentzville again across the Missouri River Bridge. Northbound 55, right lane's a little busy. Butler Hill up to 270, and it's a little slow from Loughborough to Virginia. Next update at 7:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
KMOX AccuWeather. It'll turn out sunny and nice today. Not too humid with a high of 88. Then mainly clear with a low of 70 tonight. Sun and patchy clouds for tomorrow and Thursday. It'll be turning warmer with a high near 90 tomorrow, then up to 93 on Thursday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zaire on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Right now, it's sunny and 71 degrees in downtown St. Louis.
Street. Wall Street opens for the first day of July trading, first day of the third quarter, and the start of the second half of the year. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has today's business report.
Stocks closed out the final day of June with a win yesterday. Major averages all up about 0.5%. For the year so far, the Dow is up 3%. The S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ are each up 5%.
Now we start July here, which is seasonally still very good. And in particular, the last decade, every July has been positive. Seasonality is influenced by the trend in the market. And the second half of the year tends to be strong when you enter it in an uptrend. So that's the setup here. I'm not saying we can't have a consolidation or a pause sometime August, September. That would not be unusual.
Strategas market strategist Chris Verrone on CNBC. And here's another outlook from CNBC's Frank Holland and JP Morgan's Joyce Chang.
You have slower growth coming and we think higher inflation, but there's been very steady retail demand and buybacks. So the technicals could still squeeze this higher, but we're on a stagflationary tilt here. So I would just be careful on calling for a much higher market here.
You know, I didn't just check. You said 6,000. So you see the market pulling back quite significantly on the back half of the year.
It could, I think you will get the slowdown. Now, we've had a lot of front loading a U.S. import surge, but we're still looking at an effective tariff rate that's 14%. That's a $400 billion tax.
More Americans are having trouble making their mortgage payments.
In May, a significant jump in the early stage category of mortgage delinquencies. That's your 30 to 59 days past due. And this according to a new report from VantageScore, an early indication of financial stress among borrowers. What's more concerning is that these delinquencies were led by borrowers in the near prime, prime, and super prime segments. That is the least risky borrowers with the highest credit scores.
CNBC's Diana Olick. New minimum wages taking effect today in Alaska, which hits $13 an hour. California, for some jobs, has an increase. Oregon goes up to $15.05 an hour. It's a little higher in Portland. And Florida's minimum wage goes up to $14 an hour today. On today's watch list, it's No Buy July, a social media trend to get people to rein in their spending and pay off debt at the halfway point of the year.
I'm Tom Ackerman, and the player to bank on, brought to you by Community America Credit Union, invested in you, was Eric Fetty, the Cardinals' starting pitcher. He got roughed up in his last start against the Cubs. Here he is facing the leadoff hitter.
Pitch to the left-handed batter, and he hits that one deep. Right center field, and that is out of the park. A game leadoff home run for Spencer Horwitz. Fetty's picking up where he left off against the Cubs, allowing 3 home runs in 3 2/3 innings.
John Rooney with the call on KMOX. That was the only run scored until the 5th when the Pirates erupted. They scored 6 runs off Fetty in the 5th inning, ran him out of there. He went 5 innings, gave up 7 runs on 10 hits, walked 3, and struck out none. Meantime, the Cardinals could not hit. Andrew Heaney held them hitless. He had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning, and when it was all said and done, he went 6 2/3, no runs on 3 hits, walked 1, struck out 7. The Cardinals never had a runner in scoring position the entire game, and they lost it 7-0 to the Pirates. Here's Matt Pauley.
For a second straight start, Cardinals pitcher Eric Fetty really struggles. In last night's 7-0 loss to the Pirates, he gives up all 7 runs in 5 innings. In his previous start against the Cubs, he gave up 7 runs going 3 2/3 innings. Manager Oliver Marmol believes there are some clear things Fetty can fix to improve performance.
There's some things that are, I want to say, low-hanging fruit that we can continue to attack, but the misses as far as where we're missing, I mean, there's a lot of thigh-high, just get behind. When you look at the overall strikes, if you fall behind and you don't have swing and miss, you're making it that much harder on yourself. So we need to be better about that.
Over Fetty's last 2 starts, his ERA has jumped a full run from 3.54 to 4.56. Matt Pauley, KMOX Sports.
We will talk about it with Ollie Marmol a little further about the rotation and the future of this club. They are 3 games out in the NL Central. The Brewers are in second place, 2 games behind the first place Cubs. Alex Pietrangelo is stepping away from hockey, making the statement yesterday on social media, and the Vegas Golden Knights say they support their defenseman. He has been dealing with some severe hip issues and wants to retain a normal quality of life moving forward. Mitch Marner traded from the Maple Leafs to the Golden Knights in a sign and trade yesterday, and there was some other movement as well in the NHL as the Florida Panthers were able to get all 3 players back, Aaron Ekblad, Brad Marchand, and Sam Bennett. They said they never wanted to leave South Florida, and they got their wish. Days after locking up Bennett long-term, the Panthers agreed to re-sign Ekblad and Marchand. Ekblad getting an 8-year deal with an average value of $6.1 million. Marchand agreed to a 6-year deal to stay with Florida. What will the Blues do in the first day of free agency? That is today, July 1st. We'll continue to watch them closely. They are looking for a second-line center. It does appear they have an abundance of wingers. Would they trade one for a center? We'll see. I'm Tom Ackerman on the Voice of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
104.1 FM, KMOX. News, talk, sports.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house, on the walls, the patios, the walkways, the porch, or the chimneys? If so, you need to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. 314-645-1387. You might need one of 2 things: solid tuck pointing, the removal of old mortar with the replacement of new mortar throughout an entire wall or chimney, or maybe just spot tuck pointing. Spot tuck pointing involves the tuck pointing of a particular wall, a chimney, or other masonry surface in an area where it's needed the most. One example might be settlement cracks, usually found above or below windows or doorways. 314-645-1387. Call the company that the Brennans have called when we've needed tuck pointing. Morelli Tuck Pointing, the masonry specialists. Winner of the Angie's List Super Service Award every year since 2005. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
You need to sell your home and you want to sell it for the most money and quickly. So you need the best agent, and that would be Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. So many reasons why you should call Gloria. She truly is St. Louis's real estate expert. She is the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And while other agents may make big promises, Gloria Liu comes through with written upfront guarantees. Her name is her promise, Gloria Liu, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. So what really sets her apart and why I recommend her is that she not only will guarantee it in writing, but if she doesn't sell your home at market value, she'll pay you the difference. So 100% of market value or Gloria will pay. If she doesn't sell your home in the time frame that you both agree upon, she'll buy it herself. So you know your home is sold and you know you're getting the most money for it. If you have a particular situation or you just want to talk things over, 314-325-6888. 314-325-6888. You can find Gloria Liu online now at gloriahasthebuyers.com.
Total Information AM on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
It's 7:20. Roger Brand is in the overhead door company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Tom, they made quick work of that stall we had that I mentioned in the last report, westbound 64 west of the Science Center. MoDOT showed up, blocked the lane. The other truck showed up, and they got them off the highway quickly. So that's good news. No longer an issue. Westbound 64 is just a little busy in spots from McCausland out to Hanley right now. Eastbound 64 looks great. In fact, coming off southbound 61, it's a good run all the way in. Just a little busy at the Interbelt right now. Doesn't look that bad. South 270, just a little slow approaching 64. Of course, there's more volume north 270, right around 44, and then north of Big Bend all the way up through to about 64. It's just kind of slow in general. Eastbound 30, West Watson to 270 is busy. If you're on northbound Tesson Ferry, right around Butler Hill, there's a little congestion at the light. If you're on northbound 55, it's bogged down Butler Hill up to 270. Still seeing short delays. Telegraph at Forder, we had an earlier southbound crash there. Northbound 55, Bales up to River to Pear, and right around Holly Hills, there's some congestion. We look okay right now anyway. Downtown westbound across the Poplar and Mutual Veterans Bridges. Next update at 7:30 from the overhead door company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
We do have plenty of sunshine in downtown St. Louis right now and around the region, and a nice start to the morning. It's going to get up to about 88 degrees, but the humidity won't be too bad. It does start to go up in temperature as we head through the rest of the week, though. Tomorrow, 90, 93 on Thursday, 96 on 4th of July, Friday. Right now, it's 72 degrees downtown.
It's 7:22. More details are being learned in the tragic ambush of Idaho firefighters responding to a call for a wildfire. 2 responders were killed. Frank Harwood, age 42, John Morrison, age 52, and a third badly injured. CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca.
Officials say when Morrison and Harwood arrived on scene to a brush fire Sunday, they asked 20-year-old Wes Rowley to move his vehicle. That's when Rowley opened fire, killing the 2 firefighters and injuring a third, 47-year-old Dave Tisdall.
Some law enforcement right now, there's an active shooter zone. Everybody shot up here.
Hundreds of local, state, and federal officials rushed to the area. After a 6-hour standoff, they found Rowley's body near a shotgun.
Authorities say the suspected gunman killed himself.
Accused killer Brian Koberger has agreed to plead guilty in the deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. Their families are divided over this development. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti has more.
But in a social media post Monday, the Gonzalez family said they did not approve a plea deal, writing they were, quote, beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. In a later statement through their attorney, they added that the victims' families had not been consulted. For Mogan's father, the plea deal is justice.
we can actually put this behind us and not have these future dates and future things that we don't want to have to be at, that we shouldn't have to be at, that have to do with this terrible person.
Koberger had been a criminal justice graduate student at Washington State University.
Some new laws and tax increases take effect today in the Midwest.
In Illinois, hotels with 50 rooms or more must comply with a law that bans giving guests single-use plastic bottles of shampoo and other personal care products. Larger refillable dispensers must be used. There's also a tip minimum wage increase and taxes on sports bets, vaping, gas, and short-term rentals, including Airbnb, that could be passed on to guests. In Minnesota, motorcyclists can begin lane splitting and filtering to get through traffic jams, but at no more than 15 miles per hour over the speed of traffic. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News, Chicago.
Governor Pritzker signing 4 new bills into law to help students apply for college more easily and affordably. From Illinois, we get more from Carolina Garibay.
Governor Pritzker says the package of bills he signed into law aims to make it cheaper and easier for high school students to apply to college.
In order to ensure that every student of every background in every corner of our state gets the education that they deserve, we need to leave no stone unturned and no barrier unbroken.
The laws will streamline the college admissions process and require a FAFSA point of contact person in schools, as well as FAFSA assistance options during school hours. State Senator Christina Castro says the legislation will also expand dual credit opportunities, promoting equity and access for high school students across the state.
Investing in more seamless path for high school to college makes it more attainable, especially for first generations and lower income students. Finishing high school knowing you already earned college credit can open the doors to a meaningful experience in higher education and beyond.
Well, it could be a costly backyard cookout, barbecue, block party. You might want to hold the beef this July 4th, says CBS News correspondent Danya Backus, reporting on how to get the best deal on your plate and still enjoy classic favorites.
Ground beef prices hit a record high in May, just in time for the summer grilling season. Ranchers have been dealing with drought, high grain prices, and inflation, forcing many to reduce the size of their herds. Economists say it's about shopping smart this 4th of July. Take advantage of in-season domestic produce like watermelon and strawberries, and even broccoli and cauliflower. Economists recommend consumers comparison shop for better deals. You can often do this online. Instead of pre-cut fruits and veggies, buy whole and cut at home. For soft drinks, buy the liter and bring cups. It's likely cheaper than the can.
Good tip on the pre-cut fruit, by the way.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo says the ever-popular sparkling waters are up a whopping 5% this year. Potato salad should be in good shape. Potatoes have held steady. If you add hard-boiled eggs, that will cost you, says Wells Fargo.
By the way, if you are planning to have a 4th of July barbecue, it is going to be hot as we head into the weekend. Today is the coolest day of the 5-day forecast, but 90 tomorrow, 93 on Thursday, 96 and sunny to partly cloudy on 4th of July Friday, 97 on Saturday. The weather is sponsored by Fairmount Park Casino and Racing. Longshots Restaurant is now open. Enjoy delicious food, refreshing drinks, and unbeatable trackside views. Fairmount Park Casino and Racing, twice the action, double the fun, 20 minutes from St. Louis. It's 7:27, and the time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, the genuine, the original. Love the folks at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A great, great company right here in St. Louis since 1926. And here we are, July 1st, and that means it is your lucky month. Today could be your lucky day. And here's why. If you need a new garage door, entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Yes, it is back. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. The end of the month is the deadline, but hey, it's July 1st. Why don't you just get in now? All you have to do is go to overheaddoorsstlouis.com and enter to win a $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. If you can't, well, you can't win if you don't enter. It's that simple. OverheadDoorsSt.Louis.com. The genuine, the original. OverheadDoorsSt.Louis.com.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-536-9607. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-536-9607 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-536-9607 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-536-9607.
Charlie Brennan once again with Dr. Colleen Bosler at the Audiology Center. Dr. Bosler, is it possible we might say, oh, those kids are mumbling, when the problem really is our own inability to hear?
Exactly. Hearing is integral in everything that we do. It keeps us involved and embraced in life. Not hearing someone is never normal. Ringing in the ears is never normal. And when people have a hearing loss, oftentimes they complain that they can hear, but they cannot understand people. And avoiding getting a hearing aid can have long-term effects on the speech reception area of the brain. So what that means is if you test and treat the hearing loss early with a hearing aid, we can prevent a decline in the speech understanding that can happen if the hearing loss goes untreated.
The words of Dr. Colleen Bosler at the Audiology Center. 3 locations in St. Louis, 636-441-7470, the Audiology Center, STL.com.
This isn't your typical lunchtime baseball chatter. This is the Gas House Gang.
I'll say this. Here's my perspective.
Tom Ackerman, Chris Ronti, Mike Claiborne, and Bernie Miklas bring smart, informed Cards talk. And every Tuesday,
We welcome in the manager of the Cardinals, Oliver Marmol.
you want real Cardinals conversation? You're in the right place. The Gas House Gang, weekdays at noon on 104.1 FM KMOX, the voice of baseball.
Manager Ollie Marmol will join us today at 12:05. At 7:31, I'm Tom Ackerman.
And I'm Debbie Monterrey. We have sunshine, and currently it is 71 degrees downtown. Let's check in with Roger Brand. He's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we've got some slow traffic right now, Debbie. Northbound 55, the right lane's Mattis up to the 270 north exit. Then stop and go stretches from about the Union Road overpass up through River to Pear, Holly Hills, Virginia area. Still looks a little busy even after that. Northbound 270 north of 55 through Gravois, slow. 44 up toward Manchester. It opens up as you come up the hill from Doherty Ferry, and then north of Manchester up to Ladue is busy. South 270, Olive to Ladue, that's bogged down. Eastbound 70 looks great coming out of St. Charles County. Eastbound 64, though, there is volume approaching Wing Haven, about midway into K, 94 to Research Park, a little heavy, and then there's a slowdown 170 to Big Bend. Westbound 64, McCausland through Hanley, seeing a little volume running through there as well. Eastbound 30 between West Watson and 270 is busy. If you're downtown, we have more volume there as well. Westbound 64 approaching the 70 split, slow all the way across the Poplar. Next update is 7:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
AccuWeather's Heather Zaire says a sunny, nice day today. Not too humid, high 88. Tonight, clear, low 70. Tomorrow, hot. And the humidity will start coming back. 90 tomorrow, 93 Thursday, Independence Day, July 4th, Friday, 96 degrees. Currently, it's 72 and sunny in downtown St. Louis.
Voters in St. Louis City's 8th Ward will decide today who should replace Mayor Kara Spencer as alderman.
The special election is between 5 candidates: Shedrick Kelly, Jamie Cox Antwi, Jim Dallas, Alicia Hoyt, and Cam McCarty. Amongst the candidates, 2 have received competitive endorsements. Earlier this month, Cox Antwi was endorsed by the woman she hopes to replace, Mayor Kara Spencer, and Greater St. Louis Inc. The St. Louis City Democratic Central Committee is backing Kelly. Kelly is also receiving support from the Political Action Committee of Megan Green. The winner of this race could be a deciding vote in closely contested legislation, most notably how the city spends the rest of the Rams settlement money. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
Boeing union members authorize a strike.
It'd be the first work stoppage at the aerospace facility since McDonnell Douglas in 1996, but it's not likely at this point. Negotiations are ongoing. It was a procedural move for Boeing workers on Sunday to vote by 99% to authorize the contingency of a strike. Aerospace consultant Richard Abalafia says even if there is a stoppage, they usually aren't prolonged, and the company probably would not cut in St. Louis as a result.
It's probably not practical to move work, and frankly, these things tend to not last very long.
Abalafia says all programs here would be impacted, but the biggest assembly lines are the F-15 fighter, the T-7 trainer, and the final FA-18 Super Hornets. Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
If you've noticed a lack of lightning bugs in the Metro East, you are not alone. We get more from Andy Dane.
I wouldn't panic yet. There may still be fireflies to come.
That's May Berenbaum, a professor of entomology at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, an area that just recently began spotting the insects that she says are popular for obvious reasons.
Their butts light up, and that's not a typical behavior for just about any kind of organism.
However, she says what makes fireflies' bottoms bright can be dangerous, so make sure your pets don't snack on them as they pop up locally. Berenbaum adds that more and more cities are reporting a drop in firefly sightings, which may be due to light pollution.
Everything we do, we humans do, that makes the environment more comfortable for us has consequences on other organisms, whether we realize it or not.
Well, my pets aren't snacking on fireflies.
We were caught by that. Are dogs snacking on fireflies?
I hope not. The news is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. My dogs will snack on some things I don't want to know about, though. It's 7:35. This is Total Information AM, your money report next.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
It is 7:36. This is Total Information AM. I'm Debbie Monterrey along with Tom Ackerman. Kimberly Adams joins us from Bloomberg. She's got your money report sponsored by Busey Bank.
Good morning. President Trump expects his technology to work. The president took AT&T to task for poor network performance after a conference call with faith leaders. A social media post said AT&T should get its act together. The president said the head of the company should get involved. Soon, there could be more robots at Amazon.com facilities than humans. The automation process at the e-commerce giant is approaching that milestone. The company telling the Wall Street Journal it's deployed more than 1 million robots in those workplaces, the most it's ever had, and near the count of human workers at the facilities. And a major pivot for Apple. Although it's made no final decision, the company is now considering outsourcing artificial intelligence technology instead of developing it in-house. Sources tell Bloomberg Apple has already spoken with 2 AI leaders, OpenAI and Anthropic, about using their large language models for Siri. With your Bloomberg Money Report, I'm Kimberly Adams on the Voice of St. Louis, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Within the cities we call home, Busey Bank is more than a name. It's a commitment to your dreams. With Busey, trusted guidance is tailored to empower you every step of the way. Whether it's seamlessly managing your finances or planning for your future, Busey is dedicated to your financial success. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Member FDIC.
Hey, it's Matt Pauley telling you about i3 Broadband. You've heard me talk about them. They provide the internet in my home. I love them so much. The reliability is great. Let's talk about price for a moment, though. They've got an introductory rate at $19.99 a month for one of their service options. No bundle ever required. You're going to save $10 a month over the cable company. They've got great pricing on all of their different packages, going up to 8 gigs upload and download speed, always mirrored. See if they're available in your neighborhood. Put your address in at i3broadband.com.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game. It's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody. It's our favorite song.
This is former Cardinal and Navy Lieutenant Mitch Harris. Salute those who serve. Join the Cardinals on Friday, July 11th for Military Appreciation Night, presented by Boeing. With a special themed ticket, fans will take home an exclusive Cardinals 40-ounce tumbler, honoring all 6 military branches. Arrive early for a powerful pregame concert by the U.S. Air Force Band on the Budweiser stage. And best of all, a portion of each ticket benefits USO Missouri. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/think. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Rolling hot dogs 2 for $5 on a fluffy bun. All beef hot dogs rolling in. Hurry, cause they're on the run. Pick your toppings anyway. Rolling to this deal. Pick your 2, big Q2. Rolling makes a meal. Mustard relish, sauerkraut. Ain't no need to scream and shout. Get 2 all beef hot dogs and a big Q for $5. Only at QT. More than a gas station.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. So tell them today, I love you. Get screened. It could help save their life. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friend Mark Cantor at Cantor Injury Law. So as you know, I'm a lawyer, so I take this very seriously. Mark is a great attorney. He has a great team. He is from St. Louis. He is local. Call 314-628-9999 or visit cantorinjurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
Today, the Cards, the Pirates, Cameron Total Access 445, Cardinals Radio, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Let's get you updated on your ride in. It is 7:40, and Roger Brand is in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
No, definitely busier out there, Debbie. As traffic reports the service of Amazon northbound 55 from A about midway up to McNutt. There's heavy traffic. It's bogged down from the Union Road overpass all the way up to about Holly Hills. Northbound 270 from 55 all the way up through Manchester is pretty busy, and then a slowdown again north of there up to Ladue. South 270 briefly slowed at 364, then Olive to Ladue, the typical volume there. Eastbound 64 approaching Wing Haven, about midway into K and 94 to Research Park. You're busy. It bogs down McKnight to Big Bend. South 170 is bogged down to the Parkway. Westbound 64 busy from Clayton Skinker, headed out to about Hanley. Eastbound 70 and southbound 61 look good coming out of Wentzville for you right now. There's no issue there. Eastbound Highway 30, a Mauer to 270. Northbound Tesson Ferry coming up Butler Hill through Mattis looks busy. And westbound 64 Ball Avenue to the Poplar slow. Next update is 7:50 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Brought to you by Amazon.
This Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th, you can get a great deal on a new foot spa, transforming you into the queen of kicking it.
Wait, this has bubble jets. Okay.
Shop great deals this Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th.
7:42, AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare. With all this heat and humidity, looks like we have a nice day today.
You know, we really do have a nice day. Looking outside right now, it is refreshing to see that blue sky out there, and the humidity really not too bad for this time of year. Now, it is going to get on the warmer side. We're headed up to 88 degrees, but considering that it was also 88 yesterday and it was more humid, it's not going to be a bad deal. Tonight, mainly clear. We drop down to around 70. Then we'll have sun and some clouds, and slowly warming things up for tomorrow and Thursday. Highs will be be near 90 tomorrow, 93 on Thursday. Sun and some clouds for Independence Day, and overall, again, still not too bad. It will be hot with a high of 96, so you definitely want to take precautions to avoid heat-related illnesses as you're out and about and celebrating. However, the humidity still not too oppressive. That changes heading into Saturday. Partly sunny, hot, humid, high 97. Right now, 70 in St. Peter's, 72 in Florissant, and 73 downtown at the Arch. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zayer on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is 7:43. President Trump will visit a new immigration detention center in South Florida today, and CBS's Michael Toscano reports they're proud of their nickname.
Florida spent $450 million to put up a 5,000-bed tent city on an abandoned airfield in the heart of forests and swampy marshes and grasses teeming with reptiles, and that's given it a nickname, Alligator Alcatraz. Attacks by alligators on humans are rare, but the center will be surrounded by an estimated 200,000 of them.
CBS's Katrina Kaufman is at the Manhattan courthouse where jurors are deliberating for a second day in the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. She says the deliberations began with a hiccup.
Within an hour of deliberating, the jury foreperson sent a note to the judge saying that there was concern that juror 25 can't follow his instructions. It was asking for the judge to interview that juror. What the parties and judge ultimately decided to do was to tell them to keep deliberating. They had only just started, and to send another note if there were further issues.
Willie Nelson, who was just in St. Louis, is canceling tonight's performance.
At 92 years old, Willie Nelson still loves getting on his bus headlining his 2025 Outlaw Music Festival tour.
Just can't wait to get on the road again.
But the show in El Reno will not go on because heavy rains and winds ruined his stage equipment in Ridgedale, Missouri.
Look, it's all coming out.
The crowd waiting to see Nelson, along with other tour headliners, including Bob Dylan and Sheryl Crow, had to evacuate the aptly named Thunder Ridge Nature Arena. Willie says his famous guitar Trigger is okay, and the Outlaw Tour will be back on stage July 4th in Austin, Texas. Michael Toscano, CBS News.
By the way, Ridgedale is in the Branson area near Table Rock Lake.
Something happened last night in Major League Baseball that hasn't been seen in 67 years.
Bottom of the fifth inning, Red Sox Reds. Boston's Wilyer Abreu hits a high drive off the wall.
That's going to keep on rolling on the warning track. Here comes Wilyer rounding third. He's trying to score. Looking for it inside to Parker. He dives in with an inside the park home run.
Inside the park home run, and later he smacked a grand slam in Boston's win. Roger Maris was the last to pull off that unusual combo in 1958. It's only the sixth time it's been done in the major leagues. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
Well, Steve, the Cardinals could have used some of that offense last night in Pittsburgh. KMOX's Matt Pauley on a 7-0 defeat.
Even with last night's loss to the Pirates, the Cardinals have still won 10 of their last 14. In their last 3 losses, each shutouts, they've been matched up against a left-handed starter in the Cubs' Matthew Boyd and Shota Imanaga, and last night against Andrew Heaney. Those 3 pitchers have combined to throw 17 2/3 innings without allowing a run. Manager Oliver Marmol acknowledges the team needs to do better against lefties.
We have to be able to combat it differently. We've done a nice job against righties. Lefties have gotten us. It's no secret. We look forward to the next one.
It should be noted in Sunday's 7-0 win in Cleveland, they did score 3 runs against Guardians left-handed starter Logan Allen, handing him the loss. Matt Pauley, KMOX Sports.
Eric Fetty got lit up for the second consecutive start. 7 runs allowed on 10 hits in his 5 innings. The Cardinals will send Andre Palante out there tonight. 5:40 first pitch for Paul Skeens, one of the best in baseball, but he has yet to beat the Cardinals in his young career. The Cardinals are 3 games out in the National League Central in 3rd place. Brewers are 2 back. The first place Cubs lead the way in the division.
Captain Alex Pietrangelo, St. Louis has been waiting a long time for this. Come get the Stanley Cup.
Greatest moment in Blues history, Alex Pietrangelo lifting the cup. That was in 2019, and 6 years later, Pietrangelo is calling it in terms of playing hockey. He says, quote, "The past few years have been very challenging on my physical well-being, and I am in a difficult position with my overall playing health." The Golden Knights defenseman says, after exploring options with doctors as well as my family, It's been advised to remove the intensity of hockey to see if my body can improve so that I can return to a normal quality of life. This decision has been difficult to come to terms with after the last 17 years of competition and the camaraderie with my teammates and coaches. The likelihood is low that my body will recover to the standard required to play, but I know this is the right decision for me and my family. GM Kelly McCrimmon of the Golden Knights said Alex has our organization's full support in prioritizing his long-term health and quality of life. Alex is dealing with hips that would require bilateral femur reconstruction with no guarantee of success. McCrimmon says today's decision is a difficult one, both for Alex and the Golden Knights, but it is being made for the right reasons so that Alex can be the family man we all know him to be. Today is the first day of NHL free agency, July 1. Sign and trade yesterday, Mitch Marner to the Golden Knights from the Maple Leafs, and Vladimir Tarasenko with another team. He's now with Minnesota Wild. I'm Tom Ackerman, Ins and Out, sponsored by Innsbruck, where every day is the weekend. Innsbruck-resort.com. Love Innsbruck. We'll be there this summer. Looking forward to the visit. Innsbruck has these amazing tree houses now, and they look like, I guess, a cottage from the outside, but inside it is luxury living. Let me tell you, Innsbruck has phenomenal. They're called Sonnenhaus houses. The newest style of living, modern exterior of a treehouse with cozy interior elements of a cottage into one convenient and comfortable residence that can transition from a vacation home to a permanent residence. The home values have increased 105% in the last 5 years at Innsbruck. Check these homes out at Innsbruck-resort.com, but mostly just go and have a good time. Kick back and enjoy your vacation home at Innsbruck. You can rent or buy. Check them out, Innsbruck-resort.com. Innsbruck, where every day is the weekend.
Dive into adventure this summer at the St. Louis Aquarium's Summer of the Shark. Get face to fin with some of the ocean's most awe-inspiring creatures in shark-themed exhibits, jaw-dropping displays, and interactive experiences for the whole family. Whether you're a fin-tastic fan or just curious, there's hands-on fun and fascinating facts around every corner at the St. Louis Aquarium. Don't miss your chance to make a splash. Plan your visit today at stlouisunionstation.com. That's stlouisunionstation.com.
It doesn't take a lot to make a big difference.
That's why we've teamed up with Jerry Kelly Heating and Cooling to bring you 100 acts of kindness.
For the next 6 months, the Chris and Amy Show is challenging you to spread kindness in simple, meaningful ways. No big budget needed.
Write a thank you note, help a neighbor, surprise someone with a smile. It all counts.
Let's prove that kindness is contagious. Share your acts with us by using hashtag 100KindActs.
Because a little kindness goes a long way.
Total Information AM. Debbie Monterrey, Megan Lynch, Tom Ackerman on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is 7:50, and that means it's time for us to check the roadways. Roger Brandt is joining us from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we got some heavy traffic now. Eastbound 70 was wide open for a while, Debbie, but we're starting to see some slow traffic eastbound 70 just east of the Blanchette Bridge. It looks like there's a crash in the it's in the 270 exit lane, the left lane of the 270 exit lane, eastbound 70. So eastbound 70, like I said, is bogged down back near the Blanchette Bridge. Police are on the way to it. Southbound 270, Dorset down to Ladue, slow. North 270, approaching Tesson Ferry all the way up to Ladue. That's busy the whole way through. Eastbound 64, approaching Winghaven, midway into K. 94 to Research Park. And then east of Lindbergh in through the inner belt's heavy. South 170, the Parkway to 64, the busiest part. Westbound 64, Science Center to Hanley. You're slow there. Eastbound 30 between West Watson and Mauer is busy up to 270. Northbound 55 looks like it's a more solid backup north of 67 through Highway A midway up to McNutt in the work zone, and then again from Union Road all the way up through Loughborough. Westbound 5570 at Exchange, heavy pockets headed for the Poplar as well. Next update is 7:58 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
The weather's great, Roger. Heather Zaire says low humidity and a high of 88 degrees, sunny and nice. Tonight, mainly clear, low 70. Sounds like a good day to eat outside, don't you think? Maybe get a little grilling going before the 4th of July, because 4th of July is going to be a roaster, folks, as it normally is. Tomorrow, high near 90. Thursday's high 93. Independence Day, high 96. Currently, it's pretty nice out there. Sunny and 73 downtown at the Arch.
It's 7:52. Happening today, the election to replace Mayor Kara Spencer's former seat as downtown alderwoman. The five-way race could serve as a key vote on legislation, like how to spend the Rams settlement money.
After 3 failed inspections, the St. Louis County Animal Shelter has passed a state inspection. The county council is still planning another hearing issues that have been plaguing the shelter.
A jury has sided against St. Louis Public Schools over a COVID vaccine mandate. The district ordered to pay $4 million to 13 employees who sued. They were suspended or fired for not complying with the mandate.
The new FEMA Disaster Recovery Center opens today in Clayton. It'll provide help to victims of the May 16th tornado and the March storms, which included 14 tornadoes throughout the St. Louis region.
A downtown St. Louis building has been named one of the tallest abandoned buildings in the world. One AT&T Center on Pine is 588 feet tall, completed in 1985, left empty in 2017. The tallest is a 2,000-foot tower in China.
The new Gateway Arch National Park Archives will open up by appointment in October. They had to move out of the old courthouse during renovation. David Grove with Jefferson National Parks Association says they've kicked off a mural design competition to fill a 22-foot-long wall in the reading room. The mural should include the essence of historical themes of the park in the museum.
Centers very largely on westward expansion and St. Louis's role in that. But we have an equally important story of civil rights told in the old courthouse. And we're leaving it open to the artists to tell us how they would interpret those stories. They can focus on all of them. Pull one out in particular that they'd really like to go in depth.
Entries are due by July 25th, and the mural should be completed by October. There's a $5,000 prize plus expenses. The archives will be open by appointment with some public events as well. Hear more about this story at 8:51.
Less than 2 months into his papacy, acquaintances of Pope Leo XIV say he is settling into his diplomatic role with ease.
And I think he's off to a great start.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the Holy See, Francis Rooney, tells KMOX, Pope Leo has shown his openness and willingness to speak clearly.
But he's not acerbic or aggressive like Pope Francis was. So when he talked about migrants, as anybody in the head of the church ought to do, he talked in a much more judicious and calm manner.
Rooney says the Pope could ultimately play a key role in calming tensions between Russia and Ukraine and in the Middle East. Fred Bottomer, KMOX News.
Last stop for a historic set of wheels in the UK.
The king was but a boy when he first climbed aboard.
Prince Charles, making his first contact with the world of steam engines and stations, stands in the doorway of the carriage.
Britain's 156-year-old royal train, in use since Queen Victoria's time, is coming to a screeching halt. Buckingham Palace says it'll be retired in a couple of years as King Charles moves to modernize the monarchy and cut expenses. The train, favored by his mom, the late Queen Elizabeth, has been called a palace on wheels, complete with an office, sleeping quarters, and dining areas. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
The palace says 2 new helicopters will help support royal duties.
From the KMOX archives 46 years ago
When
today.
you're on the go, enjoy music in motion with Sony's Walkman stereo sound system.
Oh, the Sony Walkman, the world's first low-cost portable stereo, released in Japan. It would later be released in the U.S. the following year. I loved the Walkman.
I love the Discman as well when that came out.
I still have a Discman.
You do?
I do, because I don't have a CD player anymore. So if I were to play a CD, which I never do, and I have hundreds in the basement,
Do you walk
I have a
around Tower Grove
Discman.
Park with your Discman?
I do not.
Okay.
I just use my phone these days.
Oh, man. I had a clock radio on my dresser, actually, with a tape deck in the middle. That was my first stereo.
I was kind of famous for my mixtapes, I'll be honest.
Mixtapes are great. Bon Jovi, Def Leppard. I was playing that.
Yeah, that was not my music.
I was playing that growing up. Grateful Dead after that. 7:56 Total Information AM.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa appreciates having mentors who have her back.
Having the faith to move forward, and y'all have everything provided. I could call a mentor and say, hey, I don't know what to do. Someone is always there to guide you. I have backup.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join now for $297, a 60% savings. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
Are moles tearing up your yard? Don't let these lawn invaders turn your beautiful property into a mess. Rottler Pest Solutions offers professional mole control services to protect your lawn from damage. With year-round treatments, we'll keep your yard safe and looking great. And the best part, you don't even have to be home while we take care of the problem. Visit Rottler.com today to schedule your free inspection. At Rottler, we know St. Louis pests because we know St. Louis best.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Renewal by Andersen is the #1 window and door brand for customer service. Schedule your free inspection today. Just dial pound 250 on your phone and say the keyword windows. That's pound 250 keyword windows, or head to rbastl.com.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
It's 7:59. Roger Brand, Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Tom, we're a little slow on eastbound 70, TR Hughes to 79, and then you're bogged down from 5th Street into 270. They did clear that crash into the safety V eastbound 70 to 270, so it's no longer blocking. South 270, Dorset down through 364, Olive to Ladue, a little busy. Eastbound 64, bogged down, headed through Winghaven and from Lindbergh through the Innerbelt. Westbound 64, Science Center headed out to Hanley, slow. North 270, backs up Tesson Ferry to Sappington, and then it's slow all the way up to Ladue after that. Northbound 55, Bayless up through River to Pears, heavy. Westbound 64, slow from the 70 split to the Poplar. From the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
The trusted voice of St. Louis. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. President Trump's just taken off for what he calls Alligator Alcatraz, a migrant detention center in the Florida Everglades, but not before cheering on Republicans in the Senate, who've pulled a second all-nighter trying to get his massive spending package passed.
I think we're doing well. We're going to have to see. It's very complicated stuff. Great enthusiasm, as you know. And I think in the end, we're going to have it.
Democrats are pushing back, among them Michael Bennett of Colorado.
They are wrestling with the legacy of 50 years of trickle-down economics that have benefited the wealthiest Americans while leaving working and middle-class families behind, which this bill does again.
A vote-a-rama on amendments continues. The president said he wants the bill passed and on his desk by July 4th. Accused killer Brian Kohberger has agreed to plead guilty and avoid the death penalty in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. Benjamin Mogan's daughter Madison was among the victims.
We can actually put this behind us and not have these future dates and future things that we don't want to have to be at, that we shouldn't have to be at, that have to do with this terrible person.
Day 2 of deliberations has just begun at Sean Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial in New York. It follows a red flag from the panel yesterday. CBS's Jerika Duncan is at the courthouse.
Within an hour of the start of the jury deliberation, the foreperson presented a note to the court regarding concerns about one juror's ability to follow instructions. In response to that note, the judge sent them back to work and did not call any alternate.
If you have hamburgers on your 4th of July menu, they'll cost you more this year. CBS's Danya Backus.
Ground beef prices hit a record high in May, just in time for the summer grilling season.
Ranchers have been dealing with drought, high grain prices, and inflation, forcing many to reduce the size of their herds. Economists say it's about shopping smart this 4th of July. Take advantage of in-season domestic produce like watermelon and strawberries, and even broccoli and cauliflower.
Starting today, colleges can pay as much as $20 million a year directly to their student athletes, thanks to an almost $3 billion settlement between the NCAA and former athletes. CBS Sports' Brandon Marcello.
This new revenue sharing model is going to give a lot more money to players overall, but for a select few, it's actually going to end up paying them less than what we saw previously in the NIL era.
Dow futures down 45. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. We offer auto, home, and commercial auto insurance, plus a variety of business insurance options. Visit progressive.com today.
We have sunny skies, 74 degrees downtown at the Arch. Today is Tuesday, July 1st. The news sponsored by the St. Louis Aquarium at Union Station. I'm Megan Lynch. Governor Mike Kehoe got down to budget business Monday, stripping out more than $300 million and putting more than $200 million in spending on hold. Among the losers, Lambert Airport. Kehoe withheld $7 million to help Lambert build a new terminal and $4 million for a new police training facility in O'Fallon. Other cuts to the budget include money for Great Rivers Greenway, IT upgrades for St. Louis Circuit Court, the Allenton Bridge in Eureka, Webster Groves Children's Hospital, St. Louis Area Food Bank, United Way, and Kinloch Abandoned Properties demolition. You might be hearing rumblings that Boeing's St. Louis workforce may go on strike.
It is true. 99% of members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers voted to authorize a strike, but that's only if negotiations go south. The company has said it looks forward to continuing negotiations and to recognize employee contributions. The union says it wants more recognition. Aerospace consultant Richard Abalafia, which staffers are we talking about?
Basically, there are two kinds of workers at Boeing and other aerospace firms, engineers and machinists. And machinists, of course, are the skilled workers who build the aircraft and aerospace systems for the company.
Balafia says he doesn't think there's been a St. Louis strike since 1996 when it was McDonnell Douglas. If there is a work stoppage, he says the biggest volume product impacted would be the F-15 fighter, but it would also halt production of the final FA-18 Super Hornets. Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Happening today, the election to replace Mayor Kara Spencer's former seat as downtown's alderwoman. The five-way race could serve as a key vote on legislation such as how to spend the Rams settlement. St. Louis Public Schools ordered to pay $4 million to employees suspended or fired over COVID vaccine requirements.
Over a dozen teachers and employees will split the money after a jury ruled in their favor. Attorney Kevin Casper represents the former staffers and says they're happy with the results.
Been a long journey for them, and we're just happy to get some closure.
The punitive damages totaled $13 million and were split equally amongst the 13 staff members who did not settle. The actual damages ranged from $64,000 to $93,000 for each client. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
The St. Louis County Animal Care and Control says it has passed the state inspection after failing 3 others since February.
St. Louis County Public Health Director Dr. Kanika Cunningham sent out a release that says, in part, quote, "We are excited to have received our license with the state and are ready to move forward." Now, this follows hearings last week before the St. Louis County Council on the problems that plague the ACC, including from the veterinarian Dr. Doug Pernikoff, who was the veterinary medical director until he suddenly left last month amid the parvovirus outbreak. We found out in the hearings that Pernikoff did not just up and quit. He was relieved of his duties by the health department following the euthanasia of 19 dogs, which Dr. Cunningham says she was never made aware of. The council intends to hold another hearing to hear from other people associated and related to the shelter who were subpoenaed. Cunningham says while the shelter passed inspection, they still need to adopt and foster several animals because right now they are way over capacity at 250 animals. Maria Kina, KMOX News.
And international search circled right back home. Blake Hamilton, serving as interim CEO of the International Institute of St. Louis, has been given the permanent gig. Hamilton was the Institute's senior vice president for talent development and advocacy. Before becoming interim CEO in December, he replaces Ari Obenson, who left abruptly with no reason given. A major grocery retail chain making moves in the Metro East. Meijer, the Michigan-based chain of supercenter stores, moving forward on plans for 2 new locations. According to the Business Journal, land has been purchased in O'Fallon, Illinois, at Pierce and Greenmount Road. There's still no timeline on when the almost 160,000 square foot store would be built or finished. Meyer has gotten an extension on plans to build at Orchard Town Center in Glen Carbon. Remediation work being done underground there to make sure mine subsidence doesn't disturb the store's foundation. At least 3 bright stars will be visible over Missouri in July. Altair, Denab, and Vega. Paul Temple of the Central Methodist University's Morrison Observatory tells MissouriNet the stars are known as the Summer Triangle. Aside from real-time stargazing, he's excited about images taken by a new telescope in South America.
And the first image showed hundreds of new galaxies that were not known before and over 200 new asteroids.
He says the Vera Rubin telescope has been putting data online for all to see. We'll check traffic and weather in 2 minutes. It's 8:08.
Welcome to Willie's Wings, home of the secret sauce.
I'll take a dozen wings. Oh, by the way, I love that sauce. What's in it?
Can't tell you.
Why not?
It's a secret.
While many financial advisors claim to have the secret sauce, they don't. In fact, if their sauce is so good, why are they keeping it a secret? Steve All of the All Financial Group doesn't keep anything a secret. He knows there's much more to retirement planning than stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. He'll develop a strategy designed specifically for you. It's your own secret sauce for retirement. Call Steve today at 636-230-8824 for your personal portfolio x-ray. Call 636-230-8824 or online at yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Fine, you want to know what's in the sauce?
Absolutely.
Tablespoon of paprika.
Really?
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So the kids' back-to-school lists were extra long.
Extra long sounds extra expensive.
Staples had everything at amazing prices.
Suspiciously amazing if you ask me.
Some items were just 25 cents. Plus, as an Easy Rewards member, I got 30% back in points on my kids' school supplies.
Jumpin' Jellyfish. Your back-to-school budget saved by Staples Easy Button. Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app. In 719. Exclusions apply. Single use per week up to $60 in points. See app for details.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Total Information AM on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
8:10. Let's get the latest on your ride into work with Roger Brand and the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Megan, we're looking better on eastbound Highway 70, but it's still bogged down east of 94 across the Blanchette Bridge. Due to that crash, they moved into the Safety V eastbound 70 at 270, so improving, but still slow. South 270, south of Page to Ladou's busy. North 270 approaching Gravois all the way to Ladue. That's pretty crowded right now. If you're on eastbound 64, it looks good out west. It's a little busy approaching Research Park, but slow stuff from Clayton Warson into Big Bend. South 170 bogs down around Brentwood. Westbound 64 Clayton Skinker through Big Bend is heavy. Northbound 55, you've got slow stuff from Bayless up to River to Pear. And down south, we have a jam from 67 up through Highway A on northbound 55 in that work zone. And downtown, we're still slow. Westbound 64 from the 70 split headed onto the Poplar, and northbound Route 3 from 8th Street up to the bridge is looking a little backed up right now as well. Next update at 8:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Sunny skies are going to be returning today, and it's going to be a nice day. Not too bad in the humidity department as we top out at 88 degrees. Mainly clear with a low of 70 tonight, then warming up for tomorrow and Thursday. We'll have sun and patchy clouds with a high near 90 tomorrow, and then up to 93 on Thursday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare on 104.1 FM KMOX.
We do have sunny skies now, 74 degrees in Florissant. It's 73 in St. Peters and 74 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Megan Lynch, and this is Total Information AM here on KMOX. I saw an article this week that showed that St. Louis or Chicago has seen a surge in its Asian population. I wanted to see what some of the latest census releases for the St. Louis metro would reveal about our population here. So I reached out to Ness Sandoval, professor of sociology and demography at St. Louis University.
Both the Asian and the Hispanic population have shown significant growth in the region since 2020. And this is fairly consistent throughout major metropolitan regions. In terms of absolute change, it is coming from Latinos, followed by the Asian population. And so this is what's going to happen probably over the next 2 decades as these populations continue to grow. They're going to be the two populations that will make up the majority of the growth.
When we look at this growth, does it offset losses?
If we just look at the past year, 100% of the growth came from international migration, and that tends to be classified, these residents will be classified as Asian and Latino typically. And so we know that if these groups were not coming to St. Louis in large numbers, St. Louis would actually have experienced a population decline. And in fact, if you go back to 2020, international migration has offset domestic migration. And so it is the international migrations who tend to classify themselves as minorities that's offsetting domestic migration. And so this is something we have to watch out over the next 3 to 4 years as we're going to see changes in international migration to the U.S.
Now, we know a lot of people will ask, and I think you have kind of answered this already, but, are these individuals that may have been already in the United States, or are they moving directly here from other locations?
So the data that's released shows that when the international migration numbers are immigrants who come directly to St. Louis as their first stop. In September, we will get data that shows immigrants who are moving from other cities to St. Louis. And so we get a fair amount of immigrants from the East Coast who find the East Coast to be very expensive, places like New York and Washington, D.C. and Boston. And so those immigrant groups tend to move to St. Louis, but then we have immigrants who also are leaving. And so a lot of our immigrants are moving to Dallas, to Columbus, Ohio. And so when we look at net, we're still positive in terms of net, but we count international and domestic foreign-born migrant workers. But I think what this data shows us is the decline in the white population and the decline in the Black population. That these are long-term issues that the region is going to have to deal with.
I know you have breakdowns, I believe you said, for the counties within St. Louis's metropolitan area. What do you see there as you drill down into the numbers and you look at the counties in this region?
Yeah, so I think you see some big differences depending on what you're looking at. So if you look at the Hispanic population, Lincoln County experienced the largest growth at 32%, and Lincoln County will continue to experience this growth, partly because that's an ideal location for migration for work. A lot of social activities are being organized around there in that area. And so it's also a very affordable place to live compared to St. Louis County. I think what's interesting about the Hispanic population, every county in the 15-county MSA experienced positive increase in the Hispanic population. And so, again, this is, if the county is going to be able to grow in the future, it will need to grow through the Hispanic population. And this is both international and native-born population. As we know that there's going to be a lot of native-born Latinos who will be moving out of the South up to the North, the Midwest again. So the question is, will St. Louis become one of these magnet places for new Americans moving, or will it be other cities like Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Cleveland that will capture that growth? If you look at the Asian population, it experienced growth in every county except Bond County. And so again, it is the Asian and the Hispanic population that's contributing this growth. These patterns are not true for the white population. And so if you look at the white population and look at the declines there, the white population in 5 of the counties that only experienced positive growth. So in about 10 of them, it experienced negative growth. And so that's because the white population is the largest demographic group in the region. You're going to need a lot more people moving in to offset that decline. And that decline is coming from more people dying than are born and more whites leaving that are moving into the region.
Yeah, when I look at the numbers, it looks like even the gains in the non-Hispanic Asian population and the Hispanic population still aren't even with the loss of the non-Hispanic white population.
Yeah, so this is going to be a challenge for the future, right? These losses, the projected losses from the white population in terms of the natural decline, deaths over births, are going to be pretty significant over the next 2 decades. And so the region really needs to start working now, building more housing, needs to be more proactive about recruitment and marketing the region as a place to live. I think that the real telling sign is St. Louis City. When you look at the numbers for St. Louis City, because St. Louis City still is it's the principal city of the region. One would argue it's the brand for the region, and it's still the city itself is struggling. I don't see, at least in the next couple of years, the city being able to turn this around.
So the city is not seeing some of the same gains that the surrounding counties are seeing then?
Well, the city has experienced the largest population decline in our 15-county MSA, and it's coming from the Black population and the white population. And so to offset that, it needs more Asians and Latinos to move in, and it simply was not able to do that. In fact, St. Louis City is second in the country in terms of Black population loss. And it's now number one in terms of large cities, in terms of total population loss. And so what's happening in St. Louis City, it's pretty remarkable in terms of the decline in population since 2020.
So taking all of this together, and I know you've given us some indication of this, but as a demographer, what does all this tell you about population shifts?
The region's aging fairly fast. And so if you look at St. Charles is an interesting place to study because it is the fastest growing county in the region. But about 77% of that growth is from residents 60 and over. And a similar pattern you find in Jefferson County, which again is one of the counties that has seen positive population growth. So the growth that the region's getting is from senior citizens and not necessarily families with children. And I think what when people hear this number, they're kind of shocked. The region has fewer families with children today than it did in 2010. So St. Charles and Jefferson County are growing, but that growth is driven by senior citizens. And so that's something that the region needs to look at because we're going to see a higher than average death rate over the next 15 to 20 years because of that growth. And don't make an offset. It's getting younger, having families come to St. Louis, having children here. And that's just not happening right now. We're just not building the number of new housing starts compared to our peers. In fact, I believe we're 47th in the country today in terms of new housing permits. And so every region that's smaller than St. Louis is building far more housing for younger families with children.
That's SLU demographer Ness Sandoval. Coming up, the latest social media fad is mouth taping for a better night's sleep. Sleep experts are concerned. We'll have more on that next. Let's check now on the roads with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, making this traffic report's a service of the Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm. If you're coming eastbound on 70, it's pretty well thinned out coming into 270 where you had that earlier crash. It's still out there in the median, but barely a slowdown now past it. Eastbound Highway 64, there's still slow stuff east of Lindbergh. It backs up from 170 to Hanley. South 170 bogs down at Ladue. Westbound 64, Clayton Skinker to Big Bend is still busy. North 270 still off the pace. 44 to Manchester and Clayton Road up to Ladue. South 270, Olive to Ladue, a little busy. Northbound 55, that jam we had coming up through Highway A is thinned out. Just barely slow Weber to River to Pear. And downtown, we're backed up westbound 64 3rd Street, headed on to the Poplar. Next update at 8:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. Our attorneys are committed to you, your business, and your community. We are ready to serve you in the areas of business litigation, intellectual property, health law, and products liability. SandbergPhoenix.com. The choice of lawyers is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
The AccuWeather forecast for today, sunny and nice, not too humid. We're expecting a high of 88. Right now, sunny, 74 downtown at the Arch.
Tim Gamma, he's the best. His brother Tom, I would recommend them to anyone. Gamma Tree experts. Your trees deserve the best care. You deserve Tim and Tom Gamma and their great team. Just like their father, Frank, started the business in 1954, they are about quality and integrity. And Gamma Tree Experts is a big business right now in St. Louis. Commercial, residential, municipal, they will clear branches. They will take care of any tree limbs that need trimming. They will take care of your trees. And they've been doing this for years and years in the St. Louis area, including our yard. Gamma Tree Experts. Go online, visit them at gammatree.com. Also, when it comes to storm damage, you'll want to keep their number handy, 314-725-6159. 314-725-6159. They are available for all seasons. Gamma Tree Experts, gammatree.com. Your trees deserve the best care.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is Total Information AM on 104.1 FM KMOX. Mouth taping is all over TikTok. Influencers swear it helps with snoring, but we talked to a sleep expert who is very against it. She's been the FBI expert on sleep for the past 5 years, has a book coming out called The Sleep Advantage, and got her PhD at SLU. Dr. Leah Kaler.
This is not safe for everyone, especially if you already have trouble breathing through your nose, which is probably why you're breathing through your mouth. Whenever someone is using mouth taping, this can become very uncomfortable, especially not just putting the mouth tape on and taking it off, but also if you have some type of allergic reaction to the adhesive. It can also feel very claustrophobic for some people. And also this can be very uncomfortable for anyone who has a trauma history related to anything like this. Also, if this is done wrong, it can affect your breathing and your sleep quality. So one thing that I really want to call out is obstructive sleep apnea. And there's so many people out there who don't know that they have obstructive sleep apnea. And one of the ways in which we know, or we have a strong inkling that someone has obstructive sleep apnea, is snoring and what we call apneas, which are basically the person stops breathing for a certain period of time during the night. And so when we're taping our mouth shut, this is absolutely not a treatment for sleep apnea. In fact, it can be really dangerous if you have undiagnosed obstructive sleep apnea, because it's going to make it that much harder for you to breathe at night. So what I want to say is, if you're interested in mouth taping, because I realize that it's all over the internet right now, it's very trendy, please go get evaluated by a doctor first and see if something like mouth taping would be a good idea for you. Remember that not one size fits all when it comes to things like this, and it may be a good fit for some people, but it may not be a good fit for you. So your doctor is going to know you and be able to give you some very individualized medical advice. So one of the reasons why I want to mention this is whenever oxygen levels drop during sleep, whether that's during an apnea or, you maybe are experiencing obstructive sleep apnea and you've got mouth tape on, your brain and your body kind of go into this panic mode. They just kind of pull the fire alarm because essentially what's happening is you do not have enough oxygen. And so, of course, the brain thinks that we're dying and it tries to wake you up. And sometimes it will wake you up fully, or sometimes it'll wake you very, very lightly. You may not even remember that. And that's what we call an apnea, is whenever the breathing ceases, the brain panics, it tries to wake us back up, and then we start breathing again. So that's what happens there. But also, too, whenever someone has obstructive sleep apnea, that happens time after time after time, like throughout the entire night. And with this, it's leading to strain on the heart. It can lead to uncontrolled high blood pressure. Oftentimes, people wake up with morning headaches, irritability. Perhaps you're feeling like your memory is very poor, or like you're just feeling very foggy. So all these things can be affected by oxygen levels dropping at night, but also whenever someone has untreated obstructive sleep apnea, that's really increasing their risk for heart disease, for stroke, for sudden cardiac death. There's a lot of different things that can potentially go wrong.
When we come back, Leah Kaler talks about social media as the new doctor's waiting room.
On one hand, it can be really empowering to see someone else who's struggling with the same thing and something that has worked for them. And you think, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. I need to go try this out. But at times it can also be very misleading.
We also ask for one easy, solid sleep tip. You're going to hear that coming up at 8:31. It's now 8:28. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Hi, it's Margaret from Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano. Life is change. An election, an illness, a death. And questions. What about my family? My retirement? My estate? Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano stand ready to help you plan for your life changes and protect what matters to you. They have listened, planned, and executed thousands of estate plans, taxes, and legal documents for over 30 years, right here in St. Louis. Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano make it easy to get started. Go to their website, yourestatematters.com, and request their free webinar. It focuses on simple legal strategies and their process. Then schedule your free personal consultation. Life is change. Plan now. Your estate matters because you matter. Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano, yourestatematters.com. Choice of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely on advertising.
Cardinal Cowboy here. After proving the doctors wrong following my accident, I got back to baseball, started kicking field goals, and finally got paid as a pro kicker and ultimately became a leader in the marketing world. That's why I trust Renner Garage Door, exceeding expectations for over 65 years. They service, sell, and install top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster. Get your free quote today. Check them out at RennerDoorSTL.com. Renner, forward and back. Giddy up!
RENNER, RENNER.
8:30, we owe you some information from Roger Brand. He's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center. How's it look out there?
Well, it's a little slow in the mid-county area, but otherwise not bad, Megan. This traffic report service is Siding Express. If you're on eastbound Highway 64, well, there's a little bit of a backup right now, actually coming through Lake St. Louis Boulevard up from Prospect. But after that, it's just slow. East of Lindbergh in through the Interbelt, southbound 170, Ladue 64, some stop-and-go pockets. Westbound 64, barely a slowdown in McCausland now. That's thinned out. Northbound 270, let's call it 44 up to Ladue. That's slow the whole way through there. Northbound 55 looks good down around McNutt. The right lane's a little busy at Mattis, but no delays across River to Pear and downtown. We still have heavy traffic on westbound 64 west of 3rd Street to the Poplar, and there's road work on eastbound 5570 east of 64, and there's a bit of a jam up through there right now as well. They're working up through the 111 area. Westbound 64, there was a crash east of 157. It looks like they cleared it, but there's still a little bit of a backup. Transform your home with the beauty and durability of James Hardy Siding. At Siding Express, we specialize in James Hardy Siding installation. Visit sidingexpress.com today to schedule a free consultation. That's sidingexpress.com. Next update at 8:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
It's going to be sunny and nice today, not too humid. We're expecting a high of 88 degrees. Right now we have sunshine, 74 degrees in downtown St. Louis.
Have you tried taping your mouth at night?
I've been doing it on and off for a couple months, so I'm just going to give you the basic breakdown.
That's just one of the influencer videos on TikTok suggesting using tape over your mouth while sleeping. Dr. Leah Kaler has been the FBI's sleep expert for the past 5 years. She got her PhD at SLU. You can rewind on your Odyssey app to 8:24 to hear her thoughts on mouth taping, which is all over social media.
But it's really a mixed bag, right? I'm excited to hear people talking about conditions, talking about sleep. But on the other hand, it is very frustrating to see that viral videos happening without science behind it, especially when it's unsafe. You know, a lot of people who are influencers on these types of platforms talk about their experience like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And a lot of these folks don't have a medical degree, and they're just talking about what it is that has worked for them. And so trends like mouth taping or, you know, some other things that we're seeing like melatonin megadosing, like all these sleep hacks can absolutely backfire when it's not the appropriate fit for you and when people skip the real diagnosis. So again, it's just a real problem when there's not actual science behind it. But I do think that social media absolutely does affect people's health decisions. I think that this has kind of become the new doctor's waiting room, if you will, and that people are getting advice, they're finding products, they're trying to diagnose themselves, all from a video or a post that they've seen that may or may not even be accurate, like we talked about with having science behind it. And on one hand, it can be really empowering to see someone else who's struggling with the same thing and something that has worked for them. And you think, oh my gosh, you know, this is fantastic. I need to go try this out. But at times it can also be very misleading. And when we're talking about, you know, the potential of mouth taping someone who has undiagnosed obstructive sleep apnea, well, then we're talking about something that's very dangerous. So what works for one influencer may not be safe for the general public, especially someone who has asthma or anxiety or sleep apnea. So again, just remember there's no one size fits all.
While we had a sleep expert, we did want to ask, what's one simple, easy thing that you can do to get a better sleep tonight?
And this might sound silly, but set a bedtime alarm. I really mean it. Just like you would set an alarm to wake up in the morning, this one is to let you know when it's time to start settling down for bed. So maybe you set this for an hour before bed or maybe 30 minutes before bed, whatever amount of time that you have. And this is just a signal to let you know, okay, it's time to shut down worries. It's time to shut down work. It's time to move into my soothing, calming, wind down routine, whatever that looks like for you. And just to make time for that, because we don't really make time for that in our day-to-day life because we're just so busy and hustling and pushing. In my very biased opinion, sleep is the most important thing that you can do for your body. It is your body's built-in life support system, if you will. It touches literally everything in your life. It impacts your mood, your memory, your metabolism, your immune system, your emotional resilience. Without getting enough sleep, life just becomes significantly harder. So please do yourself a favor and prioritize sleep.
Again, that's Dr. Leah Kaler, a sleep expert and SLU grad. Your money is next.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify.
It's 8:36, your Money Report now, sponsored by Eamon Gantner and Capriano, elder law attorneys.
Good morning. The president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta is the latest Fed official to weigh in on tariffs. Raphael Bostic spoke in London. He said tariff-related price increases may be incremental and not come in a one-time bump. He said that could result in more persistent upward pressure on inflation. Shares of Moderna rose more than 1.5% after the company reported positive results from a late-stage trial for a new flu vaccine. And Meta Platforms will have some job openings. CEO Mark Zuckerberg plans a major restructuring of the company's artificial intelligence group. A new group, the Meta Superintelligence Labs, will recruit new workers. Zuckerberg says Meta will spend hundreds of billions of dollars on AI projects in the coming years. And the final day of the second quarter ends on a high note. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 settled at all-time highs. Both indexes gained 5.5% in the first half of the year. The Dow was up 276, the Nasdaq up 96, the S&P 500 added 32. With your Bloomberg Money Report, I'm Kimberly Adams on the Voice of St. Louis, 104.1 FM KMOX.
When we started Neoviten back in 2009, we wanted to create a multivitamin that we would take ourselves. That's why we use quality ingredients in our Neoviten Original Formula multivitamin. With over 20 vitamins and minerals, along with our physician-formulated proprietary blend, you can be sure you are getting the highest quality daily nutritional support. Give Neoviten Original Formula multivitamin a try for yourself. Find it at your local Schnucks, Deerbergs, and online at neoviten.com.
Hi, my name is Christina Straight, the owner of Straight Realty, and I'm asking you, what do you want in a realtor? Do you want experience? I've been a broker for over 21 years. Do you want to know how much I've sold? I've sold over $500 million, yes, $1 billion with a B, in sales. Do you want value? I now list properties for only 2%. So, if you're looking for all these things and want the best, then call me 314-441-4444. Why pay more than $2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and non-negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, I'm Andrew Suntrup. For over 30 years, St. Louis families have trusted Suntrup Ford Westport and Suntrup Ford Kirkwood as a proud, family-owned and operated dealership. We offer more than just great deals. We offer peace of mind. At Suntrup Ford, you'll find a huge selection of inventory to choose from, unmatched customer service, and our exclusive lifetime powertrain protection program. Visit in store or online at suntrupford.com. Save more at Suntrup Ford. Visit suntrupford.com.
Hey, it's Jeff at Sachs Financial. Over the last 15 years, we've been able to help our clients focus on the fundamentals and tune out the daily grind by putting a great retirement plan in place. If you don't have one, find out how to get started at retiresafestl.com.
Sunny skies, 77 degrees at 104.1 FM KMOX. Here's what's happening. The U.S. Senate worked overnight to try and gain support for President Trump's bill of tax breaks and spending cuts. International charities, including Oxfam and Amnesty, urging the disbandment of an Israeli and U.S.-backed aid mechanism in Gaza. They cite repeated chaos and deadly violence at aid distribution sites. Coming up, new research happening in St. Louis could give hope to patients with an incurable form of cancer. Maria Kina will have that. We need to check the roads first, though, with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, making this traffic report to service of Metro Transit, we have a crash blocking the exit eastbound 70 at Shreve, so you can't get off the highway. It's not blocking any through traffic in the area, though. That's good news. Eastbound 64 is still busy between Prospect and Lake St. Louis Boulevard, and it's slow McKnight to Big Bend. South 170 still bogging down at Ladue. Westbound 64 around Big Bend is a little slow. North 270 is a little slow down north of Gravois with the merge on traffic. North of Big Bend up to Ladue, still kind of busy on that run. Northbound 55, the right lane's a little slow at Mattis, and then from Loughborough through Virginia, it looks kind of busy. Downtown westbound 64 is slow on the Poplar, and westbound 64 is also heavy west of 159, most of the way to 157 due to an earlier crash. I'm Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Metro Transit.
We are Metro Transit. We don't just help ourselves and our neighbors get where we need to be. We help our whole region get where we want to be. Get on board at rideonmetro.org.
You're back with Total Information AM. I'm Megan Lynch. Multiple myeloma is a cancer that develops from plasma cells, a type of white blood cell found in the bone marrow. It's generally considered to be incurable, but groundbreaking research at Washington University's Siteman Cancer Center has led to a treatment that shows great promise. Here's our Maria Kina.
Meet Tony Driscoll, diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 2019, had stem cell transplant that only partially worked, had 4 other therapies that worked well enough to keep the cancer from causing more damage, but it never eradicated it.
And then last August, I was one of the first people to get this CAR T, it was called chimeric antigen receptor therapy. When the FDA approved it, it used to be only available to people who had 5 failed treatments, and they opened it up to people with less. And so I was one of the now that it's been open. And this drug itself is called Carvykti, but what they do is they take your T cells, which is part of your blood system, out through how like you donate blood. They separate the various fractions till they get the T cells, which is part of your immune system. Then they send it off to a lab where they attach a drug to your own T cells.
Bone marrow transplant specialist, medical oncologist, Washington University's Dr. Ravi Vij says great progress has been made over the last 25 years, but what they have now is much better than anything in the past.
We have a couple of new modalities of therapy. One is the CAR T, which is what Tony underwent. So CAR T is a modality of therapy that till about 10 years ago was felt to be science fiction, that you could actually take someone's own immune cells, genetically modify them to recognize a cancer, and then reinfuse them back into the patient to be able to kill away cancer cells. This is a modality that first became available several years ago for leukemia, then lymphoma. And then 4 years ago, we had the first CAR T approved for myeloma. And then 3 years ago, Carvykti, which is the product that Tony got. This was initially approved for patients who had failed multiple attempts at disease control several years often after they were originally diagnosed, when prior therapies would offer just 3 to 4 months of potential for disease control. This seems to offer an average of close to 3.5 years.
This therapy has given Tony new hope, and it serves as inspiration for newly diagnosed multiple myeloma patients.
I have less than 1 in 2.5 million parts, less than 1 in 2.5 parts per million of cancer cells in me. So it's undetectable. They know it's not completely gone, but it's undetectable, which is fantastic.
Oh, God, yeah. What a feeling for you when they told you that.
Yeah. After 5 years of going, sometimes often weekly, last year has been weekly for various, therapies, to not have to have anything for hopefully many years.
There was the first time chatter that are we perhaps starting to cure these patients? And that, I think, is certainly something that is a realistic possibility, though I think that most people in the field still are of the opinion that we need at least another 5 years before we can confident to start using the word cure. So this is a treatment that has really revolutionized a lot of hematological cancer treatment options, and now has become available for the last few years in myeloma. It has since then moved on to earlier lines of therapy. When patients have just progressed once, now we can consider giving them Carvykti, the CAR T cell that Tony got. And we don't have mature follow-up for these early phase clinical trials, but the results are expected to be even better than what has been attained in the late line setting.
Doctor, has this been found to work on other cancers? Are there trials for that?
Yeah, in fact, it is already FDA approved for a number of other blood cancers. There are leukemia patients who have benefited by this, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma patients, where these therapies have actually been out there longer than for myeloma. And in some of these diseases, they are clearly curing patients already. And it is being also pursued in solid tumors. Those are trials that are still ongoing. We don't have a commercialized CAR T for, say, lung cancer or breast cancer or colon cancer, but trials are ongoing.
And doctor, I got to ask you about the research involved with this. We're hearing about so many cuts right now to research that could be going on. And I would imagine, like this, for instance, if not for the research, we wouldn't be here today.
Very true. I think that it is certainly something that we're all concerned about, the cuts in funding for research, which could directly impact these kind of treatments. It is usually in the academic labs that we initially find how these treatments work. Often the initial CAR Ts are designed in academic centers before being taken up by biotech companies for commercialization. In fact, at Washington University, we have for myeloma one CAR T that has been indigenously produced and is currently in clinical trials, and should it work, could offer patients another option for treatment. And there are a number of research labs here at Washington University working on these kind of efforts.
Doctor, does there stand to be cuts at WashU as a result of these proposed cuts?
I think that is what we hear from the administration, that the impact could be huge, that we could see substantial reduction in the research dollars available. And already there are hiring freezes, and there is obviously hope that this could in the future be a temporary phase that we're going through. But yes, I think that that is certainly an impact that the university is already potentially looking at trying to overcome.
Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
So you're thinking, great boat, 60 grand, but hey, we can have fun on the water. She's thinking, what, 3, maybe 4 months a year if we're lucky? You're thinking tow ropes and wakeboards. She's thinking granite countertops and undermount sinks. You're back to thinking about summers. But she's thinking about all year, every day, rain or shine. And she's also thinking 3 days and about half the cost. That's right, 3 days and half the cost. Your kitchen or bath can have a completely new look in just 3 days or less. Guaranteed. Top quality products and craftsmanship, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. And you and your family will enjoy it all year, day in and day out, with no tow ropes needed. Now, what are you thinking? Find out more about how your kitchen or bath can be the kitchen or bath of your dreams in just 3 days. Just visit 3daykitchen.com. That's 3daykitchen.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
2 legendary bands, 1 epic night, Collective Soul, and Live are bringing the rock to St. Louis. Catch their summer unity tour at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater July 17th with special guest Braylon James Rue. Don't miss your chance to hear such hits as Shine, December, I Alone, and All Over You. Collective Soul and Live. Tickets can be found at Ticketmaster.com. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler, Let the gobbler get. We can get more sleep, we can get more sun, and we can get more exercise. But the one thing we can't get more of is time. It's time to eliminate the one phrase that could be holding you back from reaching your retirement goals. I'll take care of it tomorrow. It's time to pick up the phone and make the call to Gary Goldberg and the team at Financial and Tax Strategies. 314-991-9005 or online at checkwithgary.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Centaurus Financial, Inc., an FFC registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Gary Goldberg, NPN number 918615.
Artists are needed for a new project in St. Louis. Here's KMOX's Debbie Monterrey.
Murals are all the rage in St. Louis. They are popping up all over the place. I am here for it. And there's a way, if you are an artist, to participate in a great anniversary. And that would be the 60th anniversary of the Gateway Arch. They're sponsoring a mural design competition. And joining me to talk more about it is Jennifer Clark, who is the museum curator for Gateway Arch National Park, and also David Grove, who is the president and CEO of Jefferson National Parks Association. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. All right, David, explain where you want to see a mural and who you're asking to submit some bids or ideas.
Certainly, we are sponsoring this mural competition for the Gateway Arch National Park Research Center that is actually located downtown St. Louis in the old post office on Olive Street, actually just down the street from this location. We are sponsoring this to improve the research center for the park, to enhance the environment. We are building out this new center right now with new supplies and fixtures and equipment, but there's this large space available that we would love to see decorated, historically themed by a great muralist from the St. Louis region that can really enhance the stories that are told and those things that are researched in that research center. So it's an open call to artists. We'd love to see the community respond to that.
Jennifer, I didn't know that this research center existed, but it sounds pretty new. Can you talk a little bit about what this is and who will use it?
Yes, it is new. We have not opened to the public yet. We're anticipating opening around October 1st when this project is completed. We had to move the library, archives, and museum collections out of the old courthouse during the old courthouse renovation. And we found in the progress of the renovation of the courthouse that the space we were located in was not really suited for the type of weight that we were putting on it with the museum cabinets and the library stacks and the archives boxes. So the structural engineers instructed us to get out of the building. So we had to find a new home for our research collections, and that new home is at the old post office downtown.
For people listening who would think they might want to throw their hat in or their paintbrush in or whatever, what do they need to do and what is the deadline?
Well, all of the requirements for the competition are posted online at mural.jnpa.com, where they can see all of the requirements and specifications for it. We're receiving applications of interest in it through July 25th. We are awarding a cash prize to the chosen artist of $5,000 to complete the work, plus expenses that they need to purchase in order to create it. So we are looking forward with really great anticipation to see what the community of artists here in the greater St. Louis region comes up with and what kind of submissions come across. It's pretty exciting.
And this research center, the archives reading room, Jennifer, will be open to the public so people will be able to come in and see the finished product?
Yes, it will be open by appointment for researchers, and we anticipate having some public open houses.
For people who haven't been to the museum at the Arch, there are, of course, some models of the other finalists. And it seems so obvious now when you look at it that, of course, they picked the Arch. I mean, the other ones were, So I'm sure that the mural will be much harder to judge, David.
Well,
or maybe not.
We shall see. We have really a great panel that's pulled together, really of all of the organizations that rally around the Arch on a regular basis.
Well, get those applications in. You have until July 25th, and the archives reading room. Well, hopefully by October, everything will be in place.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. Jennifer Clark is the museum curator at Gateway Arch National Park. David Grove is the president and CEO of Jefferson National Parks Association. Thank you both, and I look forward to seeing some of the finalists and the winner of the mural competition.
Thanks, you.
Debbie.
Coming up tomorrow on Total Information AM, the Jeff Bezos-Lauren Sanchez wedding was an extravaganza. What are average people in St. Louis paying to get hitched? KMOX business analyst Jerome Katz will have the numbers.
The big, beautiful bill moves forward. We'll get the details on what that means for you. Plus, Dave Simons, partner and managing director at One Private Wealth, and Chip Carey, TV voice of the Cardinals, joins us. It all starts at 9 a.m. on the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
It's Tom Ackerman. You know what? Today would be a great day to get to Ted Drew's. We're going to have a great, beautiful day. Not as much humidity. Got some family coming in town for the 4th, perhaps. It's July 1st. Let's go get some Ted Drew's. Ted Drew's frozen custard. I might just go over there today. 6726 Chippewa. Also 4224 South Grand. 2 locations right here in the city for you. Ted Drew's frozen custard. The tradition. 96 years of tradition. And I'd say in my 50 years, almost 50 years, I've been to Ted Drew's so many times, and probably 90% of the time I've ordered a Heath Bar Concrete. That's probably the case. Now, I will venture off every once in a while. Do you know what Travis Dillon's favorite is, the owner of Ted Drew's? Peaches and macadamia nut. Order that, peaches and macadamia nut concrete, and see what they do. They'll look up and say, how did you know about that? Ted Drew's frozen custard. Unmatched quality, unforgettable taste.
Renewal by Andersen is the #1 window and door brand for customer service. Schedule your free inspection today. Just dial pound 250 on your phone and say the keyword windows. That's pound 250 keyword windows, or head to rbastl.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life